pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll with planet.
Water towers fly!
Flight outside of speed off. Speed off.
Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.
All right, y'all. Well, you know how it goes. Welcome to another episode of NASA Spaceflight Live. Let me know if you can hear me. The little bar is jumping correctly, which indicates that it should be transmitting audio. But let's see if we can hear everybody. Thomas, how you doing over there real quick? Mic check.
I'm good. Das. How are you? Long
Thomas's
time
bar.
no speak.
Thomas's bar is jumping correctly. How about you, Jack? Does your pixels jump correctly on the screen here?
Do my pixels jump correctly on the screen here? I don't know. Let's
There we
find out.
go.
Check one,
Yes,
check two, check
I do
three.
hear you, and
me?
I see the little bar that indicates that the server is getting your audio. So it looks like we've all got video, and we've all got audio for another rousing episode of NASA Spaceflight Live. Whew, the crew today, over on, what is that, my right, my left? I don't know. Over on this side, we've got Thomas Burghardt. You may have heard his voice earlier on the Starlink stream. How you doing today, Thomas?
I'm good. It's been a busy day so far, and we're back for NSF Live. I hinted on the other stream you might hear my voice again today, so I'm back.
I definitely talked about it on the outro, like, oh, we'll be back in about 3 hours when we ended at noon. But Thomas, live stream host, commentator, camera operator, reporter. It says editor up there now. I don't even know what we're going to call you these days, but that joke is getting a little old. Thanks for joining us today, Thomas. And on the other side, Jack Beyer. How you doing, Jack?
Doing good. Hanging out. Happy, nice little weekend Saturday vibe going on over
Were
here.
you trying to
Doing
wig
good.
me
Thanks
out
for
there
asking.
by like acting like the camera was frozen? You just got to hold it really still.
No. No. Should I move and gesticulate as I?
You freaked
Everything
me
is
out,
fine.
man. I thought the camera was frozen. I'm like, oh, it's time to introduce Jack. Is his camera frozen? No, not like this. But it looks like it's working
Sorry,
correctly.
it was a bit of a hustle to get set up today for me, so I'm just like, making sure everything isn't on fire. I didn't knock over a bunch of stuff, so sorry.
All good.
Actually, I did knock over a bunch of stuff, but don't worry about it.
I know how it is. I'm in my Home Depot attire. I just got back from Home Depot buying more NASA Spaceflight stuff. So anyways, y'all, today we're going to do our NASA Spaceflight Live shindig. If you've seen these before, these are our live shows. We try to do them every Saturday, but sometimes there's so many other events going on, we have to skip them. Today, even though we had a launch this morning, we are going to do a show. I mean, I hope we're doing a show. We're live right now. So since the show is live, if you have questions for us, tag us in chat at NASA Spaceflight. We don't have like a big scripted interface or anything like that. And now let's talk about this next thing. We have a couple different topics that we're going to go through, but all in all, we are just going to chat about cool spaceflight stuff that happened this week. We'll bring up some cool stuff to show you on the screen, and we'll answer some of your questions. We're able to do all this stuff because of the super chats and all that sort of thing. So if you do a super chat or something, just remember that they go into a queue. We don't always read them out in real time. Sometimes we get a little bit behind, but no matter what, we do appreciate your support. And then simulcast in Espanol over on Twitch. Do we have? Yes, we do have the Los Broadcast on Twitch as well. So how's it going, Twitch? I don't actually know how to say. Anyways, whatever. Somebody else take over. I better be quiet. What are we talking about today? We have a list.
Oh, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, I guess there was that thing in Boca Chica that some people care about. We can maybe talk a little bit about that. There were some launches, there were some landings, there was some punching asteroids this week. There was a lot of cool stuff going on.
Literally punching asteroids. Where do you think we
For
should
science.
start? For science. Where should we start? I mean, we know we got Starship in Boca Chica. OSIRIS-REx, the asteroid punching that you're talking about. A couple launches and stuff that happened. Where do you want to start?
Quick launch recap?
Sure, launch recap is good.
That's what happens when you ask me to make the decisions. You gotta deal with it, whatever I say.
It's fine. It's fine.
So
You
we
should
had
have just
two
been like,
Starlink launches.
disparaging Kerbal.
Yeah, well, there you go. Just bring up Kerbal and forget all the news. Let's just play Kerbal. But yeah, so we had 2 Starlink launches. The first one was last Sunday, right after we do the weekend sports. The weekend. I said the weekend sports. Been watching too much Sports Center. The weekend space news. Starting on Sunday, we had a Starlink launch from Pad 39A. That was the 14th Starlink mission, or the V1.0 L13 mission. And you can see our replay here, a successful launch and landing of the first stage on Of Course I Still Love You. That was booster 1051, making its 6th flight, which ties the record for Falcon 9 flights, along with booster 1049. And that booster is, of course, now in Port Canaveral, and I'm sure we're going to cut the fleet cam at some point during the show to show you it. But
That's certainly possible.
That's certainly possible, right? So that was the first launch this week, and that went off without a hitch. The fairing recovery was a little bit interesting. Both fairing halves were recovered, but the ships might have gotten beaten up a little bit. One of them had like a communications array that got completely destroyed. So it's certainly interesting, but they recovered the fairing, so a catch is a catch, right? And that is, of course, why. Yeah, and that is why only one of the ships was like speeding out to the recovery zone for today's launch. It's because they were undergoing maintenance in port, and we know that they were working on maintenance for that. So they'll have to scoop them out of the water after today's launch, which also went off perfectly successfully. This one from Pad 40 earlier this morning. And now had a successful first stage landing on Just Read the Instructions. So 2 successful Starlink missions, another 120 Starlink satellites launched this week. And yeah, I think that's all the launches this week. I don't think I missed any.
Yeah,
I know those were the 2 from the US.
Really quickly on the screen there, this was that first launch that Thomas was talking about, but we actually had on Fleet Cam the rocket visible in the background. If I scroll back just a little bit, you can see that right here. Right there is the rocket, like that. And we had, that was Just Read the Instructions going out for the mission that launched today. So this was sort of the first time we've caught something like this, a Starlink or a Falcon 9 launching while the drone ship was leaving port at the exact same time to catch the next mission, which we saw today. I'll bring that one up too. Let's see, that's this one, I think, right? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Fleet Cam.
So this is a great example of why does SpaceX have 2 different pads at Cape Canaveral, so that they can fire off these missions much closer together while they're working on Pad 39A, preparing it for its next mission, which will likely be the Crew Dragon Crew 1 mission. They can use the other pad to launch another mission, and they used Pad 40 today. This was the 3rd flight of booster 1060, previously supported a GPS mission and a previous Starlink mission, so 2 Starlink missions now. And this booster, like I said, landing on Just Read the Instructions, will come back to Port Canaveral, be viewed by Fleet Cam, I'm sure, and then undergo processing for its 4th flight. So yeah, a great launch today. It was super loud at the press site. I don't know if the mic picked it up on our stream super well, but it was way loud today.
Let's see here.
I love
should
when
be
that happens.
piping that audio through. Are y'all getting launch? Nope, here we go. Now you should be getting launch audio.
That was a pretty cool track from Fleet Cam too.
There, Thomas, and of course the ICL Causeway. There we go. Sorry. I had the wrong input there. That's the most sweet track. That was a nice track on Fleet Cam. Play the audio here, Thomas. All right, here we go. Working now. Y'all can hear it, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Super loud. Stand by. Have you had enough?
I think it was. I mean, so usually the sound level of a launch, it kind of has to do with whatever the atmosphere and the weather is doing, and because of those clouds that were in the area, I bet that just helped force all the sound right back to the press site. It was great sound. It was awesome this morning.
Yeah, and it did. It picked up really well, Thomas. Yeah.
I love when
Chat,
that
I don't
happens
know.
so
I
much.
mean, I assume that you all should have been able to hear that. RIP headphone users, all right. So they must have been able to do that. The other thing I want to point out just really quickly here, this was another first as we try to improve every single stream we do. But I want to point this out over on the left-hand side of this. fleet cam was being operated remotely by Michael Baylor. So that is the robotic camera we installed at Port Canaveral. And Michael Baylor tracked the launch off of pad 40 this morning using the fleet cam. Michael, what was Michael? He was like 2,500, 3,000 miles away or something like that. Literally on the other side of the country, teleoperating a robotic camera to track the launch, and did a fantastic job tracking the launch. Honestly, like that's what we were able to see from Port Canaveral. So either way you slice it, I love having the different options. Fleet Cam saved us a little bit there. Thomas, you got nailed by a rainstorm that came
A
through the
little bit,
ITL
yeah.
causeway. Yeah.
Right during the countdown, we were like middle of fueling, and all of a sudden we all kind of like looked to our right, and there was just this wave of rain that was slowly approaching us, and we're like, this could be a problem. So I quick packed up everything and threw it in the car, and because obviously I'm okay getting in the rain, but our nice expensive camera equipment would be less okay. So
I appreciate that.
But yeah, we put that all away. It lasted like 15 minutes or something, and then we came back in time for lunch. So it was all good.
Yeah, so for the first time we were able to, when the rain started hitting Thomas over there at ITL, instead of just, we'll go to the standby screen or something, we were able to cut the fleet cam, which has sort of a long shot. It's 1.3 mile or 10.3 miles.
I was gonna say, if we have a camera 1.3 miles away, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome. 10.3 miles away, roughly, I think, if I looked it up correctly. So we were able to go over there and continue watching the rocket. We could actually see some venting and stuff like that. But those are the two Starlink launches that happened. Was today the third launch in 30 days, I think we calculated?
Yeah, third launch this month, yep.
Third launch this month, that's correct. Third launch this month. All right. And then did we miss any? Did I not show anything else? I think we had some pictures to show.
We have some photos and stuff. Stephen Marr was out there on the causeway with us on another one of the newer photographers to the NASA spaceflight team. He's been doing it for a while though, and he had some awesome photos of today. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Let's see if make sure we get the watermark in there. There we go. So that is the fantastic new member of the NASA spaceflight team, Stephen Marr, at Space Coast Steve, missing an E, on Twitter. Somebody get a link there? I think if somebody could get a link there to his Twitter account. But joining the ranks of NASA spaceflight photographers, Stephen Marr with a fantastic shot. Look at the detail in the engine exhaust. I mean, look at it. There, zoom in. That's cool. And then what else did we have? The liftoff photo. Oh, yes, with plants in the way. I love the liftoff photos that include plants. There we go. I need to fix that framing a little bit so we don't get that black bar at the top, but what are you going to do? Another fantastic shot from Stephen Marr. I don't know if we have a link to his Twitter or a link to these tweets. There we go. Thank you, Chris. NASA Spaceflight, Chris B in chat over there, posting up the link to those tweets directly so y'all can check them out and toss him a follow. What else?
Before we move on, I think Das, you might want to take a look at the super chat queue really quick.
What is going on here? Hang on.
I think our friend Andre is back. What's up, Andre? We see you.
Oh no. Let me get some of these super chats really quick.
Yeah, we might want to get through these really quick.
I don't think he realizes how this is going to backfire on him. Here's a super chat from Andre Carmel saying "you're." Another super chat coming in from Andre Carmel saying "never." Another super chat from Andre Carmel saying "going." Another super chat, Andre Carmel, thank you so much for the support. Another one saying "on" from Andre Carmel. So much support here. I'm just going to say your name every single time. The entire point here was that we said your name on the live stream, and this was just not the way to handle this, Andre. Here's another one from Andre Carmel saying TV. Also, Andre Carmel checking in again with a ever. One more, I think, from Andre Carmel saying again. Coming back through, Andre Carmel, so generous here. Hopefully, Andre Carmel once again saying you. Andre Carmel saying don't. Once again, Andre, wow. Mind. One more saying reading. Andre Carmel each. And then the last one from Andre Carmel, so generous, super chat. We certainly don't mind reading all the super chats, but if you don't want your name to be read out loud on the stream, you need a different plan. All in good fun. All in good fun. Andre, thank you so much for the support. Andre's wife, thank you so much for the understanding.
Here he goes again. He just Another repeat, another one of those names we see pop up a lot. Andre Carmo with
Well, what's that name?
another super chat. It says and then it says what? There's another. Oh wow! Thank you, Andre, for all the support. There's another one that says was. Okay. Anyways, I think we all know where this is going.
I tell you what, that Andre Carmel certainly does do a lot of super chats. I wonder if his wife approves. Anyway. Y'all, again, all in good fun. We really do appreciate you. We actually we're going back and forth with some ribbing of Andre in the Discord after the show yesterday. And Andre, we do appreciate you. You know who to DM if you ever need to talk to me. Thank you so much for all the support. And like I said, thank you to your wife for being understanding of the fact that you support the content that you love over here and sometimes, but not anymore, put up on your TV. We appreciate that. Let me grab the other ones here real quick. Dan Ketchum, this looks like a question concerning Starship. So Dan, we're going to get on to Starship in just a minute, and we'll certainly, I think, circle back to that. Somebody remember to talk about the interior layout of that, but let me grab these other super chats. Sarah Ecton, I got busted for the umbrella earlier. Nice. Sarah got busted for a super chat getting an umbrella to protect our cameras. And then we also have Ference Pachier says, yeah, appreciate you, Ference. And then Mika Ahola, greetings, love your shows. We appreciate you, Mika. Thank you so much for the support. So, that does not get us caught up on the super chats.
Well, why is that, Daz?
Because this fantastic person, Andre Carmel, has 3 more super chats in there. Says, was ready for, I have a feeling Andre was ready for that. Going to cost them another 5 currency units to finish that sentence, though, I think. Yes. What else? We were talking about the launches.
Really quick,
Jack.
Joe, I don't know if I'm getting that weird desync going on with my voice or not right now, but I might be. But if you can hear me all right, Joe Dog McKeel in chat saying cloud cover was what made it louder. That we were talking about the sound a few moments ago, and they're saying look into the incident in Huntsville testing the Saturn V. It just disappeared for me. I just lost the super chat. But yeah, he said look into the incident in Huntsville first. For the similar thing happened there, I guess, where presumably cloud cover in Alabama, they were doing some sort of engine test for the Saturn V, and it caused it to be extra super loud. So I'm gonna have to Google the incident. Thank you for the input there, Joe.
I also want to know about. I've never heard of that, so that would be interesting.
Yeah, me either. It's one of those things where you think you think you know everything that happens with spaceflight, and then you hear about something like that. So I'm gonna have to look into that for sure.
Do we have any other questions really quick about Starlink before we move on? Why was just read the instructions on the East Coast and will of course I still love you use in the West? Okay, good question. So both drone ships are now on the East Coast. And that's literally because they're launching so much more often from Cape Canaveral than Vandenberg. Sorry, Jack. That they literally need both drone ships to support the missions. Like we saw during the first Starlink launch, one drone ship was already downrange. Just reading the instructions was leaving that same day to support the next one. So both drone ships on the East Coast. For now, on the West Coast, all the recoveries will happen via a return to launch site profile, coming back to land on land at landing zone 4. And on the East Coast, they can do those drone ship recoveries. Good question. Just read the instructions was on the West Coast, and they moved it over. So.
Yeah, and I'm working on the audio thing with Jack, a little bit of a desync, but almost impossible for us to debug that now that we're live. So I'll see if there's some things we could do. I need people to tell me whether Jack's audio is ahead or behind, because some people saying that Jack's audio is not. Jack, here's the deal. Clap for the camera. Yeah, he knows what to do. Clap for the camera.
I feel like a monkey. The symbol.
Cool hat. Give you some symbols.
Yeah.
Like,
monkey. Ook.
Yeah, it's like worse and better. Okay, the audio.
People saying slightly behind.
Slightly behind. All right, good deal.
Just imagine Jackson on the ISS and the teacher's connection is a little whack. Okay, just
have we tried turning Jack off and on again, guys? Okay. Again, y'all, this is it's sort of a fun show that we do here. We are sort of all over the map. We appreciate y'all hanging in there. But what are we talking about next? What do we have next on the agenda here? Rocks from space, maybe?
Rocks from space sounds like a cool idea. Rocks
Rocks from
acquired via
space.
punching asteroid.
Yeah, sure. So let's talk a little bit about OSIRIS-REx and what was going on out there on Bennu.
Sure. So what you're looking at now is some images that they transmitted back afterwards of the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft, NASA spacecraft, touching down briefly on asteroid Bennu and collecting some samples and very quickly retreating away to protect itself from the resulting dust and all that. But yeah, this is the first time that NASA has conducted a sample collection of an asteroid, also in partnership with a sister mission from Japan, the Hayabusa 2 mission. Both of those missions are going to be, well, both of those missions have now collected samples, and both missions going to return those in small reentry capsules to come back down to Earth and be analyzed here on Earth. So very exciting science that can come out of these missions. And so this week the touchdown did occur and the sample collection did occur. Shortly afterwards, we got some news that it almost went a little too well because so much sample was collected that it actually lodged a diaphragm open in the sample container. And so there were bits of the sample that were actually leaking out. And I think we have some images of that afterwards. But yeah, it should be the other link
Really
in there,
quickly.
guys.
The other link
Yeah.
in there. Go, Jack.
Before we cut away from this image, pow, right in the kisser. I just want to put one of those in there. Pow, right in the kisser.
I want to come back to this image and talk about it because it's such a confusing image, but let's look at this really quickly. And
I have many questions.
Yeah,
there we
so that you can see some of the actual sample kind of leaking out into the vacuum of space because it's not actually closed completely. So right now what the teams are going to be working on is, keep in mind, this happened because they collected so much sample, so this isn't at a risk of like, oh, they're going to lose all their sample. What all they're going to do right now is look at how quickly they can stow the sample from the collector and secure whatever they do have left, which should still be plenty, based on the fact that they collected so much that it stuck open.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, what that means is normally the original plan was after sample collection, the thing would close, and then they would actually spin the spacecraft slightly and measure the momentum of the sample that was collected, and they could figure then, but by doing that, they could figure out how much sample, what mass they actually collected. They have to skip that now because they want to stow this as quickly as possible, which means they won't know just how much sample they got until it comes back to Earth, which is until 2023. So we're confident that there will be a sufficient amount of sample, but they really won't know how much until it gets back here.
Yeah.
Which will be
What's the deal? All these NASA missions always overperforming. We put a rover on Mars. Oh, it'll be 90 days. 8 years later, the rover's still going.
Right.
Oh, let's go pick up a couple grams of sample from an asteroid. What am I going to do with all this asteroid sample? Like, it's I mean, what a problem to have. But again, they're not in danger of losing all the samples, right? They're basically, what they're doing is they grabbed too much ice cream or candy from the candy jar or whatever. It's spilling out of their hand, and they're just going to stuff it in their pocket as fast as they can, right?
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Just the pocket
Classic
will keep
ice
it from
cream
getting...
pockets. Yeah.
Ice cream pockets. So again, I wanted to go back to this image because a lot of people were super confused by what is being shown here. They thought it was a video because NASA took it and they turned a bunch of still pictures into this not really time lapse, kind of time lapse, but it looks like it goes up and it's just like, bah, and it just gets the sample and then immediately goes away. Can we explain what is actually happening in this picture?
Yeah, like why does it go dark so immediately? Is that because dust gets kicked up before it as it punches it? I'm so curious why it goes dark immediately.
Well,
and dust, it's totally a time lapse for the record. Come on.
This is a time lapse.
Oh yeah, because it's not sped up video.
It's not sped up video.
It's a series
individual
of stills.
pictures.
How are you gonna waffle on whether or not it's a time lapse? It's the most time lapse thing we've ever shown on this channel.
But so it's a. I'm gonna say this. I love you, NASA. Right? Thank you, OSIRIS-REx. But it's almost it's a time lapse that misrepresents what actually happens because the pictures don't come in on a consistent time scale. Right?
That's fair.
Like it's
fair.
a bunch of pictures and it's like, oh, we'll put this amount of time between each picture showing it, but realistically this isn't real time. That's why it looks like it hits the asteroid and immediately comes away. Remember, it touched down for 1 second and then it hung out there for 6 seconds, or was it 6 or 5 seconds?
It was 6 seconds, I believe. Yep.
6 seconds. Yeah. So it touched down, it waited for a second, and then it started this blower motor that sort of blew the sample like a reverse vacuum cleaner almost up into the catch trays or catch screens or whatever. So realistically, this was more of a coming down, contact 1001, and then turn on the blower 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006. Wait, did I add that up right? 7. Anyways, whatever. I'm not NASA. And then it closed and started to back off. In this time lapse, this is a series of still pictures that were taken.
This video kind of skips the part where it's just sitting on the surface, I think.
Yeah. So
and that might just be
That makes
because
sense.
it wasn't collecting images during that point. I think obviously, and what you can see, and I do think the before and after images are scaled the same, that because it was descending much slower than it then ascended. So that kind of makes sense. Jack's comment about it becoming very dark, I would bet that is because it was kicking up dust during the portion that's not imaged here, and then once
Yep.
you're seeing images again, there's a lot of dust in the area, and that's just causing some darkness. That would be my guess.
Yeah, hearing Das describe the image sequence and how it was taken and how it was stitched together, and then also describing the sample collection process, it makes perfect sense. There are missing frames in the middle of this animation here that would be during the blower activation, and so we're sort of just jump cutting in the middle of this to a giant cloud of material obscuring the light a little bit, and you can even see it. It immediately goes to it's like abrupt chaos. Somebody should post this on abrupt chaos.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you punch an asteroid. I don't know what they expect.
So
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Did they say, like, they had some expectations for how deep the sample collector was going to go? Did they give us any information on how that went? Didn't it go a little bit deeper? It sunk in a little bit more than they thought?
I think they overshot by like half a meter or something like that. I think they have that's the number that's in my head, and I think it's got a fair bit of give. I think it was. I thought they said half a meter, but I don't know if that makes sense. Depends on what they mean exactly. Because obviously you can't just like fly through the asteroid. So maybe that means they touched down like half a meter sooner than they thought they were going to. That might be what that meant.
Yeah. Gotcha. But
because during the descent, you did hear them. They were calling out their what's it called? The uncertainty in their altitude, because their computer is always doing calculations and they have information, but it's not exact. So there's some discrepancy about what the altitude actually is, and they were calling out about half a meter during the final stage of descent. So that might be what they meant.
Yeah, gotcha. So again, OSIRIS-REx did successfully contact Bennu, successfully collecting samples, stowing that away, and getting it back home. Remember, it's a long way away right now. It's going to take it a couple years to get these samples back home. And then it's got that little UFO pie tin looking thing with a little miniature heat shield on the bottom to bring these samples safely through reentry phase all the way back down to Earth. Hopefully, still years before that will happen. But so far, so good with the OSIRIS-REx mission out there at Bennu, with the exception of the one little got too much more than they thought. Got more than they thought they were going to get. So, that's just, I mean.
People in.
Go ahead, Jack.
Go ahead. People in chat saying that Scott Manley did a really good video on this. I haven't had time to watch it yet, but I believe it.
I haven't seen that one yet either. So, excellent. That'd definitely be a video to go and check out, because Scott does such a good job of explaining the nuts and bolts on this stuff. So I like the little where the collection head like straightens up at the last second, like
yes,
goes down. You know,
I love that. It's like I point here,
right there. The other thing that sort of gets me about this is they were targeting basically a parking space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So their target zone was about the size of a car parking space, and they hit right within that parking space, if I'm not mistaken. They were pretty darn close to what they were shooting for. And this isn't like somebody there with a joystick, like, okay, now,
right.
That's not how this stuff works. It's all the computer programmed, right, Thomas?
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing about this. So these images were recorded, obviously, as they happened, but were not transmitted to NASA right away. This happened hundreds of millions of kilometers away from Earth. So the time delay was something on the order of 12 minutes, maybe. Meaning that literally all the signals that NASA was getting here on Earth were about things that happened 12 minutes before we got the signal, just because it's so far away. So there was no commands being sent from Earth. The spacecraft was programmed ahead of time and had its whole sequence and what to do if like a problem occurred. All of that was pre-programmed, and the spacecraft just did it itself, and they were just kind of observing what the spacecraft did on this 12-minute delay. So that's and hats off to all the engineers. Doing things remotely like that is ridiculously impressive. And as you can see, even though there was the small kind of issue at the end, it was kind of a result of it going so well up until then. So a successful touchdown, and soon that spacecraft will depart and bring those samples back towards Earth. And yeah, so back to the images. These images were sent afterwards, because during the actual touchdown, they were only transmitting basically the very important telemetry during the touchdown and then the ascent again. So then once all of that was complete, then they sent back all these images and more information. It was super interesting.
Gotcha. So again,
Definitely want to echo the hats off to everybody that worked on this. I mean, I already freak out about like drilling for oil and having a pipe that's, you know, a couple miles long or 5 miles long, and they're somehow guiding the pipe to the exact right spot where the oil is, and that's on Earth. And you know, it's a crazy problem for sure. But this to your point, Thomas, is millions of miles away. So it is not messing around. And the fact that they were able to target such a small little spot on the asteroid from such a far distance away without having instant, you know, direct communication, just kind of hoping that everything that they've programmed in works while we are out of contact with it, or, you know, unable to contact it without a 12-minute delay or what have you. So it's a huge technical problem that I don't even want to start to wrap my head around. And that's just really astounding that we're able to do something like that. It's so cool. And yeah, hats off to everybody that had a hand on this mission.
yeah, absolutely. This is one of the things that we always try to remember. You know, it's like, oh, launch day. All right, cool. The rocket launch. Woo. And then, oh, sample collection day for this specific thing. Like, oh, the spacecraft did this one thing. These things just don't magically happen. It's thousands, tens of thousands of crew hours, human being hours
Yep.
out there to make these things. Engineers, scientists, people designing things, heck, accountants. I don't even care. Like all the different people that have to come together to make a mission like this happen. And it's not like they all just show up on launch day and the rocket launches, it's all good to go. And then it's not like they all just show up on tag day and then, oh, all right, cool, it's all working. Like these people are there behind the scenes, constantly working to assure the success of these missions, get them designed, get them launched, all that sort of
Yep.
stuff. So
There was one
Surely some of these-
engineer on the NASA stream, and they were interviewing him, and he said literally, and you know, like older than me, you know, clearly a senior engineer who's been working on this for a long time. So the interviewer said that this engineer had literally been working on this mission for half of his life. That's the
Wow.
kind of
Yeah,
dedication that these missions get. Yep.
that's exactly what I was going to say, is that for some scientists or some engineers or just people working on these programs, this could be like literally their entire career or the
Yeah.
culmination of their entire career. And that's one of the reasons why I like doing what we do in sharing spaceflight stuff and rocket launches with people, is because the amount of human effort in these things is staggering. And even if you don't see the face of each and every individual human being that contributes, it's a huge team effort. And it's so cool that we're able to accomplish things like this when we all work together. And yeah, I mean, just to celebrate everybody who goes home at the end of a long work day and is super tired, but is serving to further human knowledge. That's awesome. And thank you to anybody that may be watching that has a hand in doing that, because we need more of you.
Absolutely. Before we go on, we're gonna go on to Starship. Don't worry, we're going to talk all about Starship. In fact, I think the best thing to do is probably to end with Starship, so we can just use all the time remaining for Starship.
Right.
But I'm going to scroll through the question queue really quickly and see if there's any OSIRIS-REx questions, since we're talking about OSIRIS-REx really quickly here. And that
We
may
do have
be
a
a little...
super chat from that taco guy who thought it was about 1 meter horizontally and about half a meter too deep on the OSIRIS-REx thing. So thank you for verifying that I wasn't just pulling that number out of somewhere. I do think that was right. So thank you for that, and appreciate the super chat.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to see...
I do have a question, actually.
Go, Jack, yeah.
Why do they, like, I heard Thomas say they targeted a parking space sized area on the asteroid. Do we know why they targeted that specific spot? Was there something interesting there they wanted to collect, or was it just a safe spot to target, or do we know?
So,
I think
go
it's
ahead.
I think it's kind of both, and I know Das has been doing a whole bunch of stuff on OSIRIS-REx, so I'm sure he knows
I'm
more
bringing up
too.
some of the graphics right now.
Okay,
so,
do it.
Yeah, you talk.
So yeah, so there was a couple. I know there was like I feel like there was like 3 different sites that they identified originally, and for a long time, OSIRIS-REx was literally just in orbit around Bennu, looking at the different sites and analyzing which one would be best to land at. This particular site was they gave the sites names too, and this one was a Nightingale or something like that.
Yep.
And
Nightingale. Yep.
Nightingale, there you go. And the sites were chosen based on a combination of how safe is it, are there giant boulders in the way that could damage the spacecraft or cause a problem collecting a sample, and also what's the science they will get at it. If there's anything interesting or the kinds of surface samples that we want to collect, are they there? So it was kind of a combination of those factors that led them to identify a couple sites, and then eventually narrow that down to a first site. And they also had backup sites. If this touchdown attempt didn't go to plan, and they get backed up and realized they didn't collect anything or something like that, they actually had extra propellant where they could try again at some of the other sites. So, but this was the primary site, and it looked like it went well.
Yeah, and this is one of the
I love
animations.
that they call it a tag zone.
A tag zone. Yeah. So this is actually one of the animations from NASA that they provided for the museum event that I did a couple weeks back. I had a couple engineers on talking about what they do with the samples after they come back, and you can see it, that overlay right there. That's the size of basically cars and parking spaces. So not one parking space. They were sort of going for the middle, but the whole tag zone was 26 feet. It says 26 feet. I wonder if that's diameter or radius. Label. NASA, come on.
I'm going to guess diameter, but yeah, good question.
How wide is a car? Anyway, I mean, I don't even know off the top. I'd have to go measure my Toyota Camry and tell you how wide a car is. But targeting this little area, and Jack, to your point, these were some of their original sites: Nightingale, Kingfisher, Osprey, Sandpiper, all bird related, and they were picking the sites. They didn't want a site that was too close to a big boulder. They didn't want the sample collection arm or the spacecraft to clip a boulder or anything. They needed some flat area so they could get down close to the surface and let that sample arm actually make contact. And I think they were also looking at the types of like the sizes and grains of rocks in each area. They couldn't pick up an entire boulder. So if they accidentally hit a big rock with the sample arm, it wouldn't get as much stuff because you can't blow that one rock up into the sample collector. They needed a lot of sort of gravelly bits, I guess, so that they could actually move that up into the collection area. I think I've got one of the collection. Do I have a diagram of the collector somewhere? Yeah, right here. So this is the tag SAM. This is actually how it worked. And you can see this was the reverse blower system where they blew some gas down into there and sort of kicked that dust back up. But you can see they're looking for these little grain-sized things. They're not looking for big chunks that maybe wouldn't be moved by the gas as easily. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I think
Yeah, very cool.
And that's a fascinating thing because normally you would think like, oh, let's just take a scoop some dirt, and call it a day. But you're on an asteroid where gravity is effectively 0, that doesn't really work because if you push onto the surface, you're just going to start floating back away.
Yep.
So they had to come up with this very unique way to scoop some dirt back up into it, and it was very cool.
Yeah, and I almost wonder, this is a GIF that I can't pause, apparently. Is there a way to pause that? But I almost wonder if these little arms right here are what got sort of clogged up. I'll wait till it zooms in again. You see the little hatch that opens up?
I think that
wonder
is
if
what they're
that-
talking about. Yep.
Yeah, y'all see that? I apologize, I can't pause this GIF in the software I have it open.
No
in.
worries.
But you get too much
And then
stuff
it closes
in there.
right there.
Yeah, interesting. I hadn't looked back at that image. But let's see if there's some other questions about OSIRIS-REx before we go on. Everybody interested in Starship, and everybody interested in Raptors and that sort of stuff. Is there a single question about OSIRIS-REx?
There will be a quiz, chat.
Yeah. Jeez.
I mean, I can blather on and say that space-time bums me out, and the fact that we have the 12-minute delay. I just keep thinking about that. It's so crazy. Can we just get like an Ender's Game style Ansible kind of instant communication thing going already? Come on, sci-fi guys.
Yeah, right.
Let's get that going.
There was a
but
question
seriously,
I put up.
that time delay. Go for it.
Oh no, the time delay, Jack. I get you.
It just it's a bummer.
So the question that I
That's all I got.
found about what happens to OSIRIS-REx now, does it go on another mission? Does it return home? And I guess follow-up question, does the whole spacecraft come home? Does just a little part of the spacecraft come home? Let's talk about that for just a second. Good question, Martin.
I'm gonna Google the last part of that question because I thought I knew the answer and I'm second guessing myself. Hold on. I do know
I can
that.
keep talking about.
Yeah, go for it.
I was kidding. I can keep talking about how the speed of light and space time bums me out.
Well, that's the tag Sam head. I'm trying to see if I can get the graphic showing that. Again, y'all, we do these live. We take the questions live. We don't prepare a bunch of stuff. We just sort of pull it back so that we can talk about it. But anyways, there we go. Let's hop back over that way real quick. So
KK
Osiris
asking, do they crash land in the desert again, like that comet mission? What was that one? That was oh god, I'm blanking.
Deep Impact? Was Deep Impact the comet? Or was that a TV
No,
show?
the comet sample collector mission that crash landed and the samples were exposed. Anyways, sorry.
Are you talking about a movie, Jack?
No, I swear I'm talking about Stardust. Thank you, chat.
Stardust. Deep Impact was in fact an apocalypse film. Oops. My bad.
Chad, I'm still working on it. I know they are returning the sample in 2023, but I can't figure out if it has to be the entire spacecraft because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. It's got to have course corrections between there and here. So I'm going to go on a limb and say, yeah, the entire spacecraft comes back to Earth and releases the reentry capsule shortly before reentry. It doesn't like fire the capsule back towards Earth or anything. Oh, there
I'm
you
not
go.
crazy. There was a NASA mission called Deep Impact that was they fired a slug through a comet.
Oh,
8 years, 8
thank you.
months. What was Deep
could
Impact?
only
Primary
think of-
mission.
I could only think of that terrible movie. I'm sorry. There was like 3 apocalypse asteroid movies that all came out in the 90s simultaneously for some reason. Yay, Hollywood.
I'm not crazy. I am not crazy that there was a NASA Deep Impact mission. Comet flyby and impact. So, anyways.
So NASA has a history of punching asteroids and comets and things. Good to know.
Oh, let's see
NASA's
if
like the
there's...
solar system bully where it's like, get over here, comet, bam, bam.
And I'm trying to really quickly bring up a picture of the spacecraft because the entire spacecraft is not going to land back on Earth.
Right.
This is that's a tiny one of the instrument labels. The entire spacecraft does not land back. It is actually just a little part that has the sample container in it. There's tag ready. There we go.
Yeah.
So in this image, you can actually see, I believe it's I hope it's the white container there on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a little bit of a heat shield. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong on this. I don't think it's the big. I think the big thing's the antenna and the little white one on the bottom
I think you're right.
side. Yeah, that's the part that is actually going to re-enter the entire Earth's atmosphere and come back all the way down safely. Right? That's the arm is going to retract. It'll stow the samples into that little re-entry capsule. I'm talking about this part right here. Right? That little white part. And then that little heat shield, I think it has parachutes and stuff, comes back down and lands so that they can recover it. And the important thing about this is that it protects the asteroid sample from Earth's atmosphere during reentry. Because we get bits of other worlds on the ground on Earth on a regular basis, meteorites, right? But those meteorites have to travel back through the Earth's atmosphere. They're exposed to the contamination. They're exposed to the reentry heating, all those different things. So they're not really source material, right? They've been changed by their trip through the atmosphere and subsequent impact with the Earth. The purpose of this is to get these pieces of the asteroid back without them directly experiencing reentry, without them being contaminated by other things that are here in Earth's atmosphere, on the ground, or whatever. They want to bring back these, I don't know if pristine is the right terminology, but these clean samples that haven't been messed up by their trip to Earth. Does that make sense?
Yep, and that capsule does have parachutes, and it'll actually land at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico in 2023. Same landing site as Boeing Starliner missions. So.
Gotcha. Good deal. So, very cool mission. Trying to illustrate. I'm over here trying to find. I know I have the pictures somewhere, but just trying to find the right graphics to bring up. But what else? What are we at?
Chat is helping me with my idiot brain here and saying that it wasn't a Stardust mission that crashed. It was Genesis. It was a solar. It was let's see, Genesis solar wind collection sample collection mission. It crash landed when the drogue chute didn't deploy correctly, and the samples were contaminated, but they were able to remove some contamination and continue on with the science. But
Now,
yeah,
see,
that's what I was thinking. Anyways.
That sounds like a bad '90s movie. Like in a
Yes.
world where the spacecraft, whatever, crashed back and then contaminated in Genesis, and then life jumps out of it or whatever.
Yes,
And
there
all
you
of
go.
a sudden,
Yeah, that's absolutely.
what is? Oh
It's very
no!
90s Hollywood.
What is the movie with David Duchovny in it? Oh, Chad, help me out. Was it just Evolution? Is that the name of that movie? I think
Yes.
it's-
God,
yes.
that movie's so good. Where they
Yes.
solve it with Head and Shoulders.
Caw, dookie dookie. Like,
all right, I guess I'm the only one here that hasn't seen that because I have no idea what you're talking about.
you're gonna need to see
Oh,
that.
man.
Yeah, Evolution. Okay, Evolution, where an asteroid hits Earth. It's a little one. It embeds in the ground, and then there's life on it, and it just runs wild and starts killing everybody
Oh, jeez.
until they dump Head and
It's-
Shoulders on it. Spoilers, but whatever. It came out then.
Good old product placement in the 90s. Quick, we'll save the planet from aliens with Pepsi. Pepsi.
With this fantastic, like, wait a second. Oh, all right. There's a couple other things that we skipped over that we should hit really quickly. Super important here. Actually, a Soyuz came back, didn't it?
Yes, we should talk about this. NASA
should.
astronaut Chris Cassidy and 2 cosmonaut crewmates came back aboard the Soyuz MS-16 spacecraft, successfully touched down in Kazakhstan after a 6-month stay on the International Space Station. There it is. And that actually ended Expedition 63, and the 3 crew members which launched on Soyuz last week are now beginning Expedition 64 on the ISS. 64 crew rotations aboard the ISS now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that is an awesome touchdown photo of its soft landing thrusters, which is a sort of ironic name because the landing still isn't really that soft, but soft landing in the desert of Kazakhstan.
I've spoken with a couple of
Soft like a-
astronauts. Go ahead.
Soft like a 20-mile-an-hour car crash. No,
Right,
like that.
yeah.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I've spoken with a couple of astronauts who have landed in Soyuz, and they say that it's like getting in a car accident. Even though the soft landing thrusters go off, there's these little thrusters, and it comes down under parachute, and then right before it touches down, these soft landing thrusters go off, and they slow it down a little bit more, like retro braking rockets almost.
Mhm.
And they said even with the thrusters, it's like getting in a car accident. And I'm like, how many car accidents have you been in, astronaut? But
To which they answer, how many Soyuz landings have I been in? You know?
no, they say, how many Soyuz landings have you been in, Das? And then I just shut up because I'm not an astronaut. But it is survivable. Even if the soft landing thrusters do not fire, you can still survive it, right? It's still designed to bring
It's
the
just
astronauts
going to
home
be
safely.
a little unpleasant.
Yeah, a little bit rougher, a little bit more of a car accident there. But the soft landing thrusters are really cool firing, and that's what kicks up the little plume of smoke. Speaking of which, if they didn't kick up, you wouldn't see a plume of smoke, or dust in this case, come from around the base, because if the retro rockets produce no thrust, they don't kick up any
Oh,
dust.
jeez.
You see where I'm going with this?
We're not going to take that any further. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know, as opposed to a a pre-burner test of the retro rockets. But anyways, here is a photo of Chris Cassidy exiting said Soyuz right there.
And
Who's got two
while we're
thumbs?
looking at Mr. Chris Cassidy, I think we have a celebrity showing up in chat. Is that Mary Boca Chica gal in chat
Whoa,
right
no
now?
way.
What's up, Mary?
Hi, Mary.
Hey, how's it going, Mary? Talking about what's going on. So just in time for us to start coming up talking about some of the awesome stuff at Boca Chica.
I think now's a great time to start talking about Boca Chica.
I think you're right. I think I've actually got that. Well, somewhere I had it queued up. There it is right there. So Boca Chica, super busy out there. I don't even know what video I rolled. First day is a full stack. Yeah, are these spoilers?
this was
Should
the
I put them
daily-
in a different
this-
order?
Well,
No,
I
you're
think
good.
everyone knows, Das.
Yeah.
This was yesterday's video that Nick edited.
Yeah. So what we're seeing on the screen here, fantastic footage from Boca Chica gal, who's in chat right now, Mary, down at Boca Chica, and sharing with us Starship's first day as a full stack. So why is this important? I mean, SN8, big deal. They put one piece on top of another piece. Whoopity-doo. Like, this is actually super important. Why is that?
I feel like
Yeah,
I feel like
Jack-
I've been saying this for weeks now, and forgive me if I'm a broken record, but having the nose cone, it's a simple thing, right? Just put a hat on it. But no, really, having the nose cone installed on a Starship prototype for the first time since Mark 1. And say what you want about Mark 1, but this is SN8 is absolutely a higher fidelity prototype, if that's an appropriate way to put that.
Hmm.
And getting a nose cone on there, and the nose cone actually has a header tank and has actuation motors for the flaps and everything. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. And to your point, Das, why? Because now we see what this actually looks like, and we've seen renders, and we've seen Mark 1, and we've seen fantastic renders from people like Neopork and stuff on Twitter who spend so much time coming up with visualizations of what it probably will look like. Well, now we know what it does look like.
Yep.
And this is a huge, huge, huge step in the evolution of the Starship system, because once they got that 3 Raptor static fire under their belt for the first time, and they put this nose cone on, I mean, we are a very small number of tests away from SN8 flying, and it's absolutely absurd to look at this thing and imagine it flying through the air. I mean, I think with all of those renders and visualizations, we kind of had an idea of how it was going to look, but seeing it fully assembled is another story. It just looks like a real deal rocket. And again, I've been saying this for a while now, and forgive me if I'm a broken record, but now people will start to care. People like your relatives, people like the mainstream news media, like you'll see this on CNN. I guarantee it.
Mhm.
You'll see this on Fox News. You'll see this on whatever media source du jour, your relatives or parents or what have you choose to consume. You will be getting people asking you like, "Hey, I know you're into space, right? What's that crazy thing SpaceX is building down in Texas?" Like, this is
Exactly.
going to start happening now, and people will start to take notice, because even though we all cared about this entire time and have been fanatically waiting for this to happen, now that it looks like a rocket, it's a simple thing, but it's a big, big deal, because now that it does look like a real rocket, people will start to take notice who previously didn't even bat an eye at what SpaceX was doing down in South Texas. So
Yep.
with the simple act of the nose cone install, we have taken a huge, huge leap towards Starship being a real functional system, even just in the eyes of, or in the perception of the public, which is a big deal. So that's my long-winded way of answering that. I mean, it's a major step, and we were talking about the stack on the stacking stream that we
Yep.
did, and this is what, 50 meters, and the super heavy booster is going to be 70 meters. I
something.
think I'm
Yep.
getting those numbers correctly. So this is like not half, not even half of the full stack, and it is already a behemoth. So yeah, it's a big deal for that reason, because it allows us to further process and it further makes real what SpaceX is doing down in South Texas.
Yeah.
And I want to
That's-
piggyback off of what Jack said there, and then I promise we'll get into questions and technical stuff and all that. But we're talking about just how important this is, and let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture here. If you've been following spaceflight for a few years now, maybe even a couple decades, you know that there have not been no shortage of ideas on how we can get people to Mars, right? But almost all of those ideas have ended up with nothing. There's been plans by NASA to say, oh, we'll land people on Mars by 2038 or something like that. That's a distant plan. We feel like we want to do a bunch of stuff beforehand to make sure we're ready. So the plans to do there aren't really firm yet. And it's kind of been that deal for a while. And then we know when we have Chris Bergen on, our managing editor for NASA Spaceflight, he likes to talk about how when SpaceX kind of came about, there was just something different, and it's kind of hard to place on what exactly changed. But when you have a company whose main goal, whose only goal really, is to make humans a multiplanetary species, and it's centered around the idea that Elon likes to describe as a future where humanity is living and working in space is fundamentally more exciting than one where we aren't. When you see what we saw the other night when Starship SN8 fully stacked, the full vehicle design that will land people on Mars, yes, they will iterate it from here on out. Yes, testing will reveal changes to be made, but you're looking at the design that's going to hopefully accomplish this mission. And not just some mock-up. This is a test article that will literally fly. This particular one will not go to Mars, but it's the same design and it's going to undergo the first flight test. And so seeing something like this not only advances the development of the vehicle, this is also going to inspire a lot of people that might not have been paying attention up until this point to realize what exactly is going on here and hopefully get behind it, get involved. This is going to bring people who are in school or about to enter school wondering, what kind of thing they're going to be interested in. They're going to see stuff like this happening, and this is going to inspire a lot of people to work towards this idea of a super exciting future where people are going back to the moon and people are living on Mars. So this is important for so many different reasons, and I just want to reiterate that even for people who are already in spaceflight, who have seen ideas come and go on how to get people to Mars, this is a huge thing to see a Mars lander assembled in a way. And yeah, it's just a big thank you to Mary for capturing all of that because it's super exciting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm scrolling back and forth through the videos here. I'll be honest, right? I mean, not that I normally lie to you, but I wasn't very excited about Mark 1, right?
Right.
When SpaceX put together Mark 1, they didn't do anything that Disney couldn't do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is my opinion, right? I'm going to say it out loud. Nobody has to agree with me, but they built sort of a facade. It was sort of for show. It was never really meant to fly anywhere or go to 15 kilometers or anything like that. And they did this big presentation, and I'm sitting there looking at Mark 1 like, wow, that looks really cool, but come on. Like, I could go to Disney World and I could experience something like that. This right here, when you have SN8 and it's got actual flight hardware on it, it's had 3 Raptors. 3 Raptors have been static fired on it. This is flight hardware. This is intended to hop up or to fly, not even hop anymore, to fly up to 15 kilometers. This makes me excited because this is sort of the distance between I love you and I do. This is like, wow, what a great idea, Mark 1. Really nice for that presentation. This puppy is designed to actually fly. This is really cool to me. I get goosebumps thinking about seeing this thing fly.
It's going to be crazy.
They didn't learn from Mark 1. Obviously, when they were building Mark 1, they learned how not to build a Starship, if you will.
Yeah.
And they learned a lot of things that then improved and led to a much better looking and much more functional SN8.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just I always had trouble getting sort of really enthusiastic about Mark 1, but SN8 is the real deal for me. So not everybody has to agree. It's just, Mark 1 didn't have a soul. Nice. That was Chris.
I think it's
Chris said that, not me.
It's pretty undeniable though that SN8 is, like you said, Das, the real deal, and it's so exciting to see them actually fabricate a full up Starship for the first time, and it's just, oh man, seeing this thing fly through the air, it's like Thomas was saying, it's really going to inspire a lot of people. And we need, like Elon was saying during that Mars presentation interview, we need proponents of Mars. We need the general public to have a will and a desire and a knowledge about going to Mars. And that is one of the fundamental components of making a Mars colony, or even just human landing on Mars, a thing. Is we have to know about it, we have to want to do it, and SN8 existing will be a huge boon to that, to just getting normal people to sort of open their eyes and say, well, wait a minute, we have a thing that can go to Mars, let's go to Mars.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
It's another step in making it a reality. That's what's showing there was a stack of COPVs, I think, right? And there's a Raptor engine too. I'm just letting this play while we talk.
We had a question about the Raptors, about which one was removed and which one was installed and what's going on. I think last night 36 was installed on SN8, but I don't know if we know that. But if you were confused as to the sort of the shell game of what's going on with Raptors, they had the 3 Raptors that were installed for the static fire were 39, 36, and I think 30. Am I correct on that?
That sounds
I think it was
right.
30.
Yeah.
No, sorry, it was 30, 32, and 39. And they did the static fire. They pulled off 39, and they brought at the same time 36 to the launch pad. But they didn't install 36 in 39's place. They then took 36 and 39 back to the production site. And there's some speculation in our member Discord that perhaps 36, the new engine, needed some part or piece off of 39, the engine that just got pulled off. So something going on there in terms of Raptor swapping. I think the vehicle now has 3 again, and I think the Raptor numbers are 30, 32, and 36. Basically 39 having been replaced with 36. But I'm not 100%
Gotcha.
positive on that.
It's certainly
like
hard
this-
to keep track because I know I lost track. So thank you for following that.
What is that hard hat contraption that guy is holding? It's like a hard hat with a headlamp on it with a drill inside it or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what
Nick
that was.
edited this video, so I actually haven't watched it yet. I've like scrubbed through it, but I didn't actually check it out yet. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, those COPVs, that, like, what is that giant stack of COPVs right there? I was really just like, what? I mean, are those meant for the vehicle? Maybe they'll go in the nose cone, or
Yeah.
are they meant? Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're meant for ground stuff. Those look a lot like all of the other COPVs we've seen installed. So, lots of deliveries to the launch site, including the Raptor, even though it wasn't installed when we saw it delivered, but it seems to have been installed now. But good question there, Davey.
Good deal. Let me we've gotten a little bit behind in super chats here, so let me run through some of these 40 minutes behind in a couple of them. So I'm just gonna let this footage roll while we thank some super chats. CA&P Railroad says, hello there, crew. Happy to see everyone this Saturday afternoon. Thank you, CA&P. Rough Riders came through. Jack is still broken from the record super chat stream. Nice. How you feeling, Jack?
I'm fine. I don't think I've ever once actually broken. I've been astounded. I've been speechless. I don't know what is broke. To me, broken is like I can no longer function. But if our members want to say, if members say that I'm broken and they want to have that as a thing, I won't behoove them. Is that a thing? Is that a word? I don't even know.
Behoove?
I won't stop them. How about that?
Yeah.
That's a word.
I like it. I was gonna say with the number of super chats that come in like that, Jack will never be broke.
Yeah, there you go. I'll be like an Energizer bunny.
Took me a second.
Hey, thanks. I came up with that myself. Rough Riders. Okay, we got the Rough Riders show thing there. Andre, hey Andre, look at this. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Andre. All in good fun again for the serious support that you dropped for the channel here. Dougal stopping in with some Canadian bucks. Group nerding for the win. Thanks, y'all. Thank you, Dougal. We appreciate you as well. Jala J with some emojis. That looks like bacon, eggs, coffee, and rocket equals heart. I'll take it.
That's a solid combination there.
Yeah, the math checks out. I like it. Jala, thank you so much for that. Rob Young, can't wait for Perseverance to land. So Percy's still on the way out to Mars, isn't it?
Coming up. That's coming up in February, and there'll be 3 Mars missions arriving in February. The only one will land in February. The other 2 will just enter orbit. But yes, that's super exciting. Can't wait.
Yeah. Paul from Norway here with some NOK 142. Nice. US ticket to Mars. PS new Tesla Model S price. Oh, all the prices for the meme prices.
There were some other people making those jokes like, oh, they changed the Tesla price. Wonder what the price for? Yes, yeah, that was a good one.
We've got wow, Wojcik. Thank you so much for the membership there. That's a red team. We appreciate you. Welcome to the crew. And then Mike Smith. Look at this. Mike Smith tossing in $50 here on NASA Spaceflight Live. Thank you so much, Mike Smith, for the $50. That is super generous. We really do appreciate you making it so we can keep on doing this. On the other side, I need to grab a couple of these. Lookout 888 over on the Twitch side, gifting a bunch of subs over there. Lookout, thank you so much for the support. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything there. Yeah, okay, I didn't miss anything else. And then Wood Lafrag with 45 months over on the Twitch side. We appreciate you, Wood, the continued support. Mike, thank you again for that $50 too. And then last but not least, this one was a question, so I popped it to the end of the queue. Andre asking, what is NSF planning for the SN8 flight?
Oh gosh. Questions
Jack?
we can't fully answer.
Well, we got the truck fixed, right, Jack? Are you planning on trying to snook around down there?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know if you remember me talking about the camping trip I was on recently on one of our recent streams. I mentioned I had been camping. Well, that was a good test run for my my Land Rover. Land Rover is fixed up thanks to everybody's support on my GoFundMe I did on Twitter a couple weeks back. Thank you everybody for supporting me on there. Seriously, super huge. I didn't even realize. I mean, I knew this, but I didn't even realize what a big part of my life having that vehicle is, and what a big part of me was missing by not having it operational. So now that it's ready to go, and I've taken it on a successful test trip where I drove up to the top of a canyon and just parked on the edge of the rim right there and kind of enjoyed life. So now that the truck is qualled for flight, as it were, or for drive, it is ready. So I'm basically just standing by and ready to head to Boca Chica when it seems like it's time. So it'll be about a 2-day-ish drive for me. And yeah, I'm planning on heading out there. I know a couple other NSFers have mentioned that they might be coming down. Brady maybe, Tyler maybe, I don't know, maybe you, Das, but I'm sure we'll have a ample set of hands on site one way or another. And of course, Mary's going to be there. So we'll have the team will be out in full force, and we will be covering it as best we possibly can.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Definitely stay tuned. And if and when we have anything to announce, we will certainly do so. But until then, I think we're going to under-promise and hopefully over-deliver.
Well,
That's a great idea.
One of the things that we want to work on, Jack, I really want to get you a broadcast unit so that wherever you are, we can have multiple angles of what's happening. So that may be something that we talk about coming up a little bit here. Of course, we have Mary Boca Chica Gal will absolutely be down there. And one of the things that we like to do, we like to try and get a couple different angles like we've been doing with Fleet Cam. So a project coming up may be for us to maybe crowdfund a little bit of broadcast unit for Jack so that we can put another encoder is what turns the photons and and then in the video that comes up to the server so you can see it. That is another project that we're working on. But these Raptor engine shots, oh my gosh.
This is crazy. And you
They're
don't
insane.
realize how ridiculous rocket engine engineering is until you look up close and realize just how many parts and pipes and wires and everything there are. It's actually absurd.
I mean, ITAR has entered the chat.
It's like you drip fed a team of engineers like the strongest possible coffee and then handed them a whole bunch of plumbing and you're like, build it, just go. You have 5 minutes. And they're just like, oh, this goes in here, plumb this into there. It looks like a mess, but surely it's all very well thought out. But yeah, those Raptor engines, man, what a marvel of engineering.
And I love Elon's...
But yeah, to your...
Okay.
Go.
Who's going ahead?
I'm going. Fine. I just love Elon's response when people ask about, people take these really up close photos of Raptor. Is that like an ITAR problem, legitimate? And he's like, listen, if you can reverse engineer a Raptor by looking at these pictures, you didn't need our help to produce a Raptor. Like, it's so complex and ridiculous that ITAR is not a problem here. Like, the problem is if you had like the schematics and things like that.
Build one real quick, y'all. Here's a picture. Build a Raptor. Like, just run out to the garage. Home Depot. I think you can get some of that bendy pipe from Home Depot. It's fine. Go.
And there surely are things that they don't want photographed, the components of Raptor, but they're probably not visible externally.
Right,
like maybe it's the injector plate, or something part of the combustion chamber, or the exact alloy of steel, or whatever material that they're using for the. There are certainly proprietary things about Raptor that can't be shared. But a photo of one from the side of the road with a high-powered telephoto lens, no matter how detailed, is only a photo. But oh yeah, what I wanted to say really quickly before I forget about the broadcast unit thing you mentioned, Das. It would be really cool to get one of those if we can work that out. I know they're expensive, but we have one on the East Coast for Kennedy, and we have one in Texas for Boca Chica, and it would just be cool to have one on the West Coast. I know Vandenberg doesn't launch that much, but we also have Mojave. There could be stuff with Stratolaunch coming up, launching, taking off again, and then starting to launch hypersonic vehicles. There's Virgin Galactic out in New Mexico, which isn't a long drive for me. There's all kinds of stuff, spaceflight events that I can bring live to you guys in the same way that we do events from Kennedy Space Center and events from Texas. So that's definitely one of the things that we have in the works to answer your question there, Andre. Good question.
Chat, you just witnessed Jack live give a pitch to the NSF sales team on where the next solo is going, just so you're aware what just happened there.
Can I have one, boss? Can I keep it? No, but
I'll be good. I swear.
I'll be good. I swear. I'll get lots of pictures. I'll get lots of video. All joking aside,
what if I get
y'all.
an A on my report card? Like if I get all A's,
I'll make all the videos for a month. An entire month. All joking aside, y'all, I've said this over and over again. I hope people don't get tired of seeing it. Look at the nose cone on the move in the background there. But when you do the support like that, it's a vote of confidence for us. It says that you like what we do, it's valuable to you, and we're able to turn it around. We're not putting Ferraris in our Ferrari accounts or anything like that. We're turning it back around into more cool tools that we can use to bring you more and more coverage. So all joking aside, we have a ton of fun with this, but we really appreciate all the support that we get. So these are the pre-pictures, right? This is
Yes.
before it was actually stacked. And this was SN8, which we already saw the static fire, the big barrel in the background on the test stand, and then the nose cone was brought out there on the roll lift, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mhm.
So we were we were live streaming this, where they were actually attaching the nose cone up there, right? Or sorry, attaching the straps to the nose cone.
Yep. Yeah, then we live streamed a thing for like 5.5 hours, something like that. Mary is an absolute trooper. She
Oh, yeah.
went out to the launch site at like 7 a.m. or something, and literally parked her car in her designated spot so that she wouldn't get crowded out. And so she was out there for like 12, 13 something hours like that. And that's the kind of dedication that it takes to get all of these shots for the dailies and for the live streams. So definitely thank you to Mary for that, because that was such a cool stream, man. And seeing the straps get hooked up, seeing the nose cone get lifted. I mean, there was a good amount of time there during that stream where we were questioning whether or not they were going to be able to lift due to the wind. So definitely glad they were able to get it lifted up and installed on SN8. So I think next up we're expecting to see another static fire, right?
I think so,
Yes, I
yes.
believe so. And I think that is a part, and because we know they swapped one of the engines at least. So I believe that another static fire prior to the hop test for sure. And I don't. Some people call it a
Yeah,
hop test. Some people call it a test flight. It's straight up, straight down. I think you could argue that's still a type of hop test. I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
flight test.
To me, it's a test. It's a test flight to me, because
Sure.
it's not a hop. A hop, right, is
Right.
it never changes its orientation. It's like when you hop, you don't suddenly go sideways and then
That's
right
true.
before you hit the
Okay.
ground, you go vertical again. Like,
All right. Well,
but
you don't know
that's
how I
me.
hop, Jack. No, I'm kidding.
But you know me, I'm particular about what things are called, so you can feel free to ignore me.
No, I think that's a good distinction,
But
though, and especially because the engines don't fire the entire way. That could be another distinction where it's a burn for ascent, shut down, and then a reignition on the way down. So more, not a
and it
hop
will be
per se.
controlling its attitude during the belly flop with those flaps. So it is
Right.
controlling its attitude in the air with aero surfaces, whether or not they're actual wings or generate lift, whatever.
Right.
It's controlling its attitude with aero surfaces. So to me, that's a flight, but your mileage may vary. But yeah, I think we were expecting another static fire regardless before they swapped out those the one Raptor engine. But once they get the nose cone on, we kind of expected a static fire from the header tanks with the nose, because the LOX header tank is in the nose cone on the very, very tip. The methane header tank is part of the common bulkhead. So once they get the nose cone on and fully welded up, they'll do another static fire. But
I tried, Jack. I was trying to get it. I should have paused it.
That was amazing.
Yeah. The LOX header tank is up here, like that.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Up in the very, and then all of this is sort of hollow space through here. This is where crew would be, or fuel if it's a fuel, or cargo, satellites if they're deploying satellites. That's all. That's what a terrible drawing of the cargo space, but you know what I mean.
Snacks.
And then down
That's where
below
the
it,
snacks go.
this was the methane tank up here like that, and then this is a LOX tank underneath it. This is the skirt, and this is where the Raptors go, just so we get enough telestration in today. But that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the LOX header tank.
Yeah, so we're definitely expecting a second static fire one way or the other, but having swapped out one of those Raptor engines, certainly, maybe they'll do 2 static fires. I don't even know. That seems kind of maybe overkill, but definitely another static fire in the cards with the nose cone installed. And yeah, having the Raptors swap happen is also going to necessitate that. If I doubt they would have skipped it anyways, but yeah, so that's what we're looking at. Once it gets the nose cone on, once they do the static fire, they'll look at the data. If everything looks good, they don't have to swap any more Raptors, then they'll fly. So we could be extremely close to seeing SN8 fly. I mean, maybe like around Halloween, early November, something like that. I mean,
early November.
I like the sound of early November.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like we are very close.
I gotta jump on this real quick. Mary sets up at the side of the road at 7 in the morning, waits there 12 hours, and then gets this shot with the
Yeah.
sun right behind the stack. This was one of the coolest shots that we've ever seen on a live stream. And there are lots of other angles, lots of other ways to see it, lighting on this side, but the silhouette of this, I love the way that this sort of illustrates it as this up and coming thing, right? It's not completely done yet. It's like still there in silhouette, but I love this. It was just such a cool thing to witness on the live stream. A sunset.
Yeah, and I like to really point out too, and I pointed this out on the stream as well. It's absolutely an even cooler angle when you consider that the underside of Starship, which is the one that we're looking at, the side that we're looking at right now from this view, will be covered in black thermal protection tiles. At least as far as we know right now, they're black. Every thermal protection tile we've seen them install is black.
There's a couple of black ones
it
on there
will
already.
look.
Yeah.
So something like this is what it will end up looking like when it has TPS installed on it. I mean, it's not going to be shiny bare steel forever, at least not on the underside. It's going to look, very different as the design evolves, as they finally start putting more and more and larger sections of thermal protection tiles on there. So this is really a good representation of what Starship will look like. I mean, that's a reusable second stage they're building there. They can get reused down with Falcon 9 all day long with that first stage. But the really, really hard part, as we know, is that reusable second stage situation. And I'm going to try and talk a little bit slower, because if I do, as they get the nose cone on there, I can say, now we have I'm too slow.
Nope.
Or too fast.
Too
now
fast.
we have a reusable second
Wait
stage.
for it.
Now we have a
Wait.
reusable second stage.
Nope, not yet. Wait for it.
Right now the frontal fell off.
Yeah. And that was one of my favorite parts of that stream we did of the lift, was talking to Mary and hearing her say, this is a Starship. Now this is a Starship. And it's, if you just look at that phrase on the surface, it's kind of like, yeah, no duh, it's a Starship. It's been a Starship. But no. Think about that. With a simple act of a nose cone install, this thing has become real. It has gone from a janky test tank, kind of akin to more of a SN7.1 or SN7 type situation, to this thing can fly, and it's gonna, and that's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. This is where it really, really, without a doubt, crossed into the boundary of this is a vehicle now, right? This is a full thing. It's got the cargo space up front. It's got the engines. It's got the fuel tankage, the aerodynamic surfaces, avionics, all the different things. This is where it came together, and that's like Mary said, that's the Starship. I love Mary hopping on at the end of the stream there and just telling us what it was like to witness this in person. I wish I could have been there. It's just so cool to see.
And that's what's so great about these streams, right? Is it's the next best thing to being there, and it's absolutely. Imagine seeing the first Saturn V, the whatever one they used for fit checks or whatever, wheeled in and out of the vehicle assembly building. Like, imagine having been there for that and thinking to yourself, wow, this thing might actually take us to the moon. Like, that's what we're doing right now, except with a new vehicle in 2020. I mean, it's literally the same exact, hey truck, it's literally the same
time-lapse
truck.
I didn't want to put, I was watching the stream when that happened, and it was just hilarious.
Like, there's a brief second
great.
there where you can see the driver of the truck like, why didn't you get it close enough there? Wow. I'm gonna see if I can catch him. The time lapse is gonna. Nope. Oh, there you go.
That brief moment of panic where it's like, oh god, I'm on camera.
I don't think I can get it exactly. There, look right there.
There he is.
You can see the driver's face in there. Like, wait, what? He looks right at the camera. It looks like.
That's appropriately spooky for Halloween.
Lit by the light of the console. It's like, all right, get out of there, truck. Bye. Oh,
but yeah,
wow.
this is really quite something, and I cannot stress enough how neat it is to be sitting here watching history. I mean, I was at the point that's maybe the closest I've come to being broken, is on the stream I was just screaming like history, future, like it's both at the same time. And then somebody in chat said present. Which also this is the present. We live in an awesome time. What's that, Thomas?
No, I was agreeing with you. That was awesome. I do have we have some super chats, and one of these is kind of directed towards something Das said, so I'll read that one first. David Sharp says the Starship Mark 1 got a Tesla battery, thrust puck, 3 Raptors, plumbing, cabling, drag flap actuation hardware, and they pressure tested it to destruction. How is that a facade? Das, you want to explain yourself a little bit?
Not intended to fly, just a bunch of non-functional stuff put together so it looked good for a presentation.
There you go. There you have it.
I mean, it was never intended to fly. It was not to a resolution that was intended to fly. It'd be like me building something out of Legos and saying I was going to hop it at 15 kilometers. I mean, I appreciate it. There's a lot of good
If I'm gonna-
technology in there, but this is argue with me and tell me that Mark 1 beats this.
Right.
We'll just toss a
And,
straw
and
man in
again,
there real quick.
It
they
definitely doesn't
learned
beat it.
things from Mark 1. They learned a lot from building what
Right.
became Mark 1. But it was not a flight test vehicle in any
Right.
way.
Again,
I mean, I do disagree a little bit. I would agree that it wouldn't have flown, and by the time, like we were talking about this on the live stream too, by the time they got it to the launch pad and were pressure testing it, they knew that it wasn't going to fly.
Right.
But at the time of the presentation, at the time that they were building it, they might have aspirationally, hoped that it would fly. Maybe they didn't think it would. Maybe they thought it was a less than 50-50 chance that it would. But at a certain point, Mark 1
At some point,
was intended to be a Starship. I mean, they realized very rapidly, no. But that's different though. That's different than just building a set, right? One, you're building a room, and at a certain point you go, wait, this room is really just not working. Let's burn it all down. the other one, you're building a set. You're just building a series of flats, right? And it's meant to look like a wall, and there's a door painted on, but you can't go through that door. And that's a little bit different to me. If that extended analogy makes any sense. The doors on Mark 1 were real. They might have been cruddy doors, but they were real doors.
They might have been cruddy doors, but they were real doors. Nice.
They weren't just painted on. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. The differential for me is this one is going to hop to 15 kilometers like that. I cannot wait to see that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least it's going to try.
Excited.
It's going to try. Yeah, there you go.
I personally, I'm less worried about the trip up than I am on the trip back down, but we'll see.
We're pretty sure we can get it to 15 kilometers. Can they get it back down safely is probably the more challenging
And safely
task.
in one piece back from 50 kilometers will be more difficult.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's run through the rest of the super chats here, then grab some more questions. Space Watcher, thanks for all the coverage. Awesome work. We appreciate you, Space Watcher. Andre, look at this. Andre says, I'm in for Jack's unit crowdfund. Thank you there, Andre. We'll get a little bit more information about that coming up. We appreciate that. Absolutely. I mean, we're able to do this stuff because of y'all's support. So thank you very much for that. Brett H, $50 from Brett saying, keep up the good work, guys. I'm moving cross country. Would like to stop at Boca Chica. Can you tell me what I need to know before I go? I'm just looping this video back again. I mean,
Jack, you've been. What do you need to know to go visit Boca Chica?
I mean, there's a lot. I feel like I could talk about this for an entire stream, but it's an amazing place. Absolutely, if you're able to make the trip safely, do so. But I hate to be a downer, and I hate to be that guy. And obviously, I'm planning on going there, and I know a lot of people are thinking about it. So this could be a case of the pot calling the kettle black. Although I would argue, as media, it's a little bit more of a necessity for people like us to go out there and spread the word of Mars. But all that said, if you can go safely, absolutely, I'm not gonna discourage you from that. Please, though, just maintain social distance, wear a mask. It's a Brownsville and the South Padre Island and the whole Rio Grande Valley have had their fair share of issues with the pandemic and overcrowding of medical facilities. So please, as we head into the winter and as we head into seeing all of these numbers start to skyrocket again with the pandemic, just be cognizant of that. Don't get lulled into a false sense of security. I mean, we're still in a pandemic. We still need to take precautions, and please wear a mask, maintain social distance, and don't get the locals sick, because the locals, they don't need hundreds and hundreds of people from all around the country flooding in and sort of getting, making a super spreader event. That's not what we want. So that's what I'll say about that. If you are going to go to Boca Chica and do so safely and whatnot, please. South Padre Island, I think, is probably a good bet for viewing, but it's really like the Starship vehicle is so huge, right? That no matter where you view it from, and it's going to go 15 kilometers high. It's not like a 150-meter hop like the previous ones, which you could still see from South Padre Island. This thing is going to be a full-on rocket launch. So really, no matter where you watch from, I wouldn't be too concerned. You're going to get an amazing show. So South Padre Island is a good bet for viewing locations. And yeah, I think other than that, I would say I tend to stay in Brownsville. You may want to stay in South Padre Island. But really, it's wherever you can safely find a spot, whether that's a hotel or an Airbnb or what have you. But good luck, Brett, with your trip, and hopefully you make your move safely wherever you're moving to.
From a tactical perspective as well, if you're driving through on just a certain day, you can see all this just from the public roadway, right? So it's going to be out of your way to drive over to Boca Chica, but all the stuff that Mary sort of shows is from public roadways. And if it's not a special event, like if you're just going through on your cross country trip, you just want to stop in and see some of this stuff, it gets a little bit more dicey around big events when everybody comes out of the woodwork to come cover the stuff, right? But if you're just driving through, you can drive through Boca Chica any day. It's a public roadway, right? You can drive up there and you can drive next to the production facility. In the background here, you'll be able to see the high bay and all the nose cone yard and that sort of stuff. You can drive all the way down towards the beach. This is the test site, and the public road drives right past this. You can drive all the way down to the beach. The only thing that stops you from doing that is when they're actually testing something. So if you're going through, look at road closures and stuff. You don't want to drive all the way out there and hit the soft roadblock where they don't let people pass unless you're a resident of the area, right?
That's a really good point. I didn't think of that, but there's two roadblocks, right? There's a soft roadblock and a hard roadblock. Hard roadblock is down there in Boca Chica, and nobody can go past it but SpaceX employees.
Right.
But if, as a member of the public, you can't even get to the hard roadblock, which is about, I think, 1.5, 2 miles away from the launch site.
Yep.
A member of the public will be stopped at the soft roadblock, which is much, much, much further up the highway, up Highway 4. It's basically still in Brownsville. So that's why I say South Padre Island is probably your best bet for viewing, because you're just not going to be able to get up close to where the locals are or they end up. And to that point, we don't know what the exclusion zone is going to be like for SN8 yet. We know, based on a couple different data points, I think, that basically every vehicle so far has been minimally fueled. And SN8's flight is going to be such a significant step up from those 150-meter hops and static fires and everything that it's going to require a lot more fuel, which means a lot more boom if something goes wrong, potentially. And thus exclusion zone expanding. So we're not even quite sure where that soft roadblock will end up, where that hard roadblock will end up, and quite what the situation will be like. But like Das is saying, if you happen to end up in the area when they're not doing testing, absolutely drive through. I mean, check out Boca Chica Beach, drive down Highway 4, and just experience it for yourself, because it's really something being there, especially if you watch Mary's daily videos. I mean, all of her shots are from these same public spots along the road there, and she works really hard to get up, like this shot up on the sand dunes or what have you. But point being, when you go there, I mean, you might feel like you're inside of one of Mary's daily videos, because the views are very similar to what you see in the daily videos. And it's absolutely stellar to be there and see with your own eyes and get a feel for, I mean, look at those cars. Look at the cars parked there. And then look at the size of even just Starhopper. Starhopper's huge.
This right here is the public road. So if you drive out there on like a Tuesday, right? There's not a road closure or anything like that. You can drive. You could put your car right here, right? You're not across the road from Hopper. The one thing about visiting the site, SpaceX is all about this. You have to stay on the far side of the road. So you cannot park up against the fence here if you go to see anything. SpaceX wants you to stay on the farther side of the road like that if you're driving through and you happen to pull over. If you pull over your car and you're on the same side as either the production facility or the test site, security will approach you and tell you, hey, wait, like tell you to go to the other side of the road. But stay on the far side of the road, and any random day where they're not doing testing, you can get within 50 feet of Hopper there. So it's something, if you're driving through, it's definitely something. I mean, I think we talked about that a lot here, but I think that's something a lot of people are probably interested in. If you're able to go there, especially if you're just going for a random trip, don't crowd it for a big event. Out of the, like all of a sudden they're stacking a nose cone and everybody and their dog shows up on the side of the road. that sort of thing becomes a little bit dangerous where so many people show up. And if it's just a random day, there's not a big event scheduled, you won't get everybody and their dog out there, and you can drive right next to this stuff, see how big it is for yourself. So a really great question.
Good question, Brett.
Yeah.
And definitely wanted to take some time and answer that properly, just to help you out. And I know, like Das was saying, a lot of people are thinking about going out for SN8's flight. And just once again, want to reiterate, I'm not going to stop you from doing it, but please, please, please be safe and maintain social distance and wear your masks and just be super safe out there, everybody. It's no joke.
Let me run through the rest of the super chats really quickly. Got way off on that, but Sheev1, thank you for the support there. We got Richard Hollis as well. Money towards Jack's video rig. Nice. There you go. Thank you, Richard, for the support. Dog Cruz. Is it still tank watchers once they're a nose cone?
There's still tanks. The tanks didn't go away. I'd say yes.
Yeah. What? It's a tank farm.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
So
then tank farm. There you go.
Yeah. Thank you for the $4.99 there, Dog Cruise. Tank Watchers is not going anywhere. Matt, Ocean of Storms. This was a new membership at the Capcom level. So Matt, nice. Thank you so much for joining as Capcom. That is a serious way to support the channel, not just once, but on a regular basis. So thank you for that Capcom membership. Mika Ahola. Oh, here's a question we can hit really quickly. Are you guys worried about planetary protection when this beast is about to fly to Mars? Oh boy, yes. Thomas
No.
Robert Zubrin says the Institute might spoil everything. So do we want to talk about that very briefly? This is a very opinionated topic, right?
No,
like Starlink
I'm not
satellites.
worried, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so we're planetary protection, of course. What happens if Elon Musk flies a Starship to Mars and introduces Earth bacteria that kills all life on Mars that we don't even know about yet, right? There are people who are theoretically worried about stuff like that. And so there are countries that enter into these planetary protection agreements. Here's what we're going to do to make sure that we don't send a probe to Europa or whatever, and the Earth bacteria that accidentally tags along kills the life that's there. You know, this sort of science fiction-y thought experiment almost. Maybe a real concern, maybe not.
It's also just like if you actually accidentally have a hitchhiker with you, maybe it doesn't kill everything that might be there, but if you do find something on Mars that's indicative of life, how do you know you didn't bring it with you?
Right.
I mean, I do see some rational arguments out there for robotic exploration first, at least. So, you know, really significant robotic exploration first, so that you can characterize what's there. So if you do find things, it's not a question of, you know, did we bring it here? But the same issues sort of apply to a robotic mission that you're sending to the surface as a Starship, although a Starship is much trigger. But planetary protection is absolutely a thing that I think should be and will be and is considered. And I mean, I'm a little bit of a nature nut and a tree hugger, if you know me at all. But I like the American desert, for example, in the American West, and for one of the reasons that it's unspoiled and it's perfect and it's pristine, and it's in a lot of ways it still is spoiled. I mean, you can find trash like Mylar balloons out in the middle of nowhere. But all that is to say, I hope we're good stewards of Mars. That's all I really want to get into the planetary protection aspect. Is we have run Earth through the ringer, and I really hope that we take lessons that we learned here and transfer them to Mars and live with Mars on and not on Mars. And I hope that planetary protection is part of that. And yeah, that's my opinion and my feeling, my touchy-feely Mars nonsense that I'll shut up about now.
No,
yeah,
I completely agree with Jack there, 100%.
Yeah. Just my comment on the whole thing. I mean, Elon Musk does a lot of work with NASA and does a lot of work with other companies that are ordering missions from him. Basically, his customers are in a large part NASA and other companies. And so you could say, well, Elon could just do whatever he wants. But I don't think you're going to see him say, whatever, NASA, forget you. I'm going to go do whatever I want. And, you know, I'm going to take a bucket of chicken to Mars and throw it out. I don't know. Look, like I remember that SpaceX still very, very much works with NASA. NASA, I don't know, can I say their biggest client? Do they get a lot of
yeah, absolutely,
biggest single
100%.
client? Yeah, so you're not going to see, at least out of the gate, SpaceX say, whatever, NASA, we don't care what you say. You have concerns. Who cares? We're just going anyways. I don't think that that's how it'll go down. I certainly hope that's never how it goes down.
And I know that Elon has tweeted recently a little bit of a flip statement about, you know, not worrying about planetary protection because anything that's surviving on Mars right now is super robust or something along those lines. And I don't know that I agree with that. I don't have to agree with everything that Elon says. but
Sure.
it's also just a tweet. I think people put a lot more stock in Elon tweets than necessary at times. And just because Elon tweeted something, one, doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the gospel forever going forward, or even that he necessarily 100% believes that, or his mind couldn't be swayed. It's just a tweet, people. So yeah, I agree with you, Das. I don't think they're going to do anything, willy-nilly there. So good question.
Yeah. Until Elon moves to an island that has a volcano on it and has a super secret base, I'm not too concerned about it. Let's run through the rest of this. Andre, who gave Chris B a day off today? As it turns out, I think when you fill out that form, you actually submit it to Chris B. So he just signed off on his own vacation day.
Well, I can attest that Crispy did not have a day off today because I know what Crispy is working on today, and it's very exciting. And I'm gonna plug it because we're getting near the end of the stream anyway. Later tonight, we will have and I'm gonna check the number before I get it wrong. Yep, an 8,000 word article on Starship development is getting published on NASASpaceflight.com tonight.
Wow.
Chris B has been working on it. I've been working on it, and a big team of our L2 members did a bulk of the work on it, and that is getting published tonight. So stay tuned to NASASpaceflight.com, as well as all of us on Twitter, where I'll share it. One of our big, giant Starship development features is coming out tonight, finally. So that's what Chris B's working on today.
That's what Chris B is working on. Yeah, just because he's not on the live stream doesn't mean he's taking the day off. Also, some new Raptor photos in L2, if anybody's aware of NASA Spaceflight L2. Back in the forum days, when NASA Spaceflight was the forum, right? There is still the forum there. Yep. But L2 is sort of the premium forum membership, how they pay the hamsters that feed the hamsters? Whatever.
Feed the server hamsters, yeah.
Feed the server hamsters, exactly. And so there's some behind the scenes, not for public release stuff over there in L2. I think we could probably grab a link to the forums if anybody was interested in trolling around. Personally, I do not go to the forums very often. Just the other day, I posted my first forum post because there's so much good content there. I'd never get any work done. So,
that's true. That's true. It's a problem.
That's my big problem.
If you make a decision to go recheck on the forums, it eats up about a half hour at least.
Yeah.
I have there are some sections of the forums that I check, once a day usually, but I mean that's like skimming the surface of what's in there. So,
Jack, what are you saying?
Yeah, I have a couple different tabs open at all times on my iPad, and whenever I have a little bit of time to kill, I'll just sit down on the couch and start going through the various tabs and be like, okay, what's going on this one? What's going on in this thread? What's going on in this thread? And invariably, it's like 2 hours later, and I'm like, oh God, my time! But it's a good problem because it's such a great resource. So definitely love me some NASA Spaceflight forums. Do you want to run through some more questions here before we have to wrap up? I can try and do a couple really quick.
Yeah, we still got 20 minutes here, but we should grab another. Am I on the right time? We have 20 minutes?
We ran over a little bit, but we also started a couple minutes late. I think we can finish our super chats and we'll be fine.
What time are we supposed to end the show?
In theory, we're supposed to end at 4:30, but it's fine.
I was watching the clocks thinking we were ending at 5 o'clock.
I mean, I'm down to talk for 20 more minutes. I don't know what y'all are doing today, but
yeah, no, thank y'all. Let's it's just one of those things. There's so much cool stuff to talk about. Y'all know me. I have to shut up sometimes so these other guys get a chance to talk. But it's a good problem to have so much stuff to share. So go ahead with the super chat question.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
we got
Brian.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to read out the members. Go for the question.
Okay, question from David here. What do you think the reasoning is behind painting the lunar starship white? Is there an aesthetic or branding reason, or is it purely functional? So first of all, we have a picture of the mock-up that painted one of the nose cones. It's sort of a mock-up nose cone for the lunar starship. We'll bring that up. But
yep.
The reasoning that they can paint it white and why they didn't do, the normal starships are not getting painted is because most of the starships will have to re-enter an atmosphere at some point, either Earth's atmosphere or Mars' atmosphere, or both. And when you do that, when you have things that are painted re-entering atmosphere, as we've experienced with Falcon 9, the paint kind of goes away. So it's kind of not needed at that point. However, the lunar starship will land on the moon and then be used to transport between the moon's surface and lunar orbit. It might come back to Earth orbit for refueling and then go back to the moon, but it won't re-enter an atmosphere at any point. So the paint will stay right where it is for the most part. Paint does kind of radiate, like the radiation has some effects on paint in space, but that's more of a gradual thing. But basically, you can paint a lunar starship and not have to worry about the paint just going away after its first reentry. And if you paint a vehicle white, that will improve its thermal properties a little bit, and it'll help with your heat management when you're dealing with the vacuum of space. So if I had to guess, obviously this is still speculation, but I would guess is they're taking advantage of the fact that lunar starships won't have to re-enter all the time, so they're painting it white to improve its thermal characteristics. Plus, you can put the worm
Yep.
logo on it, so that's cool.
The proper
Yep.
logo.
I was
on
gonna.
there.
Yeah, thank you for getting to that, Thomas. Worm better than meatball. No one needs to rebut that at all. We're just gonna move on. Okay.
Listen,
moving on.
I
Worm better
said
than meatball.
I said the worm logo. That doesn't mean it's better than the meatball. Meatball logo's better, and I'll die.
So,
You heard it
anyways,
here-
moving
you
right
heard it here
along.
first, folks. Thomas said worm
Thomas-
better than meatball.
Thomas actually no longer has a microphone that's being piped into the stream. You can't even hear him laughing. You'll just have to read his lips when he says worm logo is better.
Yeah,
There you go,
And
Thomas,
everybody
you're
knows
back
the only
online.
thing,
Thanks, Thomas. I
better than the
appreciate
worm. The only thing better than the worm is the worm ball. So.
Oh,
Worm
jeez.
ball. Oh my gosh, abomination.
Michaelio 90, thank you so much for the new membership, and Brian Young, and
That was a
Victor.
Capcom,
Thank you
by
all
the
for the
way.
new membership.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
Oh
Thank
wow.
you.
Capcom,
Mhm.
that means you get Discord access if you came in at Capcom. So hop into our Discord and post cursed rocket emojis and chat with us about Starship stuff.
It's true. It's true. Fleet cam stuff behind the scenes. Michael 090 and Brian Young and Brockton Bowers were all Capcom memberships here at
Oh,
the very
wow.
end of the stream. Just
Thank
3
you
in a
so
row.
much.
Wow. Cool. So we have some new friends for Discord. Everybody, that's really cool that you're supporting us. Like Das said, it's not just a one-time thing. It's a recurring thing, and that's super, super awesome, and it helps us do what we do. So thank you so much, all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last but not least, this last super chat in the queue here, David Sharp saying, "I'm glad people don't call the payload section a fairing anymore." Just a tad incorrect. Like the atmospheric altitudes, apparently some acronyms in here. Drag flaps, body flaps, fins, wings. Those are shuttle terms, it looks like. So, David, I mean, we talk really quickly, and at the end of the day, we say nose cone or we say payload fairing, and sometimes we use one, sometimes we use the other. But you're correct. There are some very specific acronyms that are used to refer to some very specific parts, and on occasion we'll get it right.
I mean, I stopped labeling them fairings in the daily videos a long time ago. I think at the suggestion of Michael Baylor, who was saying technically it's not a fairing because it doesn't deploy off of
exactly.
it's a nose cone, not a fairing. So that's why I use the nose cone terminology, and that's why I call them flaps too. I don't call them fins and I don't call them wings. But yeah, I call it RCS thrusters. Maybe they should be ACS thrusters. I don't know, but thank you for the super chat, David Smart. And I do try to be precise with my language, so thank you for the input.
Yeah, I wonder.
Or accurate, maybe accurate, not precise. Whatever.
Yeah, when we get the sort of the satellite deploy version of Starship, which will have this door that opens and allows payloads to be deployed that way, even that will still not be a fairing. That would be a payload bay.
Yep.
I think would be the precise term, right?
Yep.
So yeah,
Agree.
a fairing is what Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy use, where it kind of sheds in half and falls away. That's a payload fairing. This is a nose cone, and we'll have a payload bay down the line. So yeah.
Gotcha. So again, I was timing for 5 o'clock here. So I was way off on the timing. I had just put in 3 to 5 on my calendar. So I want to talk about one more thing really quickly. The NASA spaceflight fleet cam. I know, this guy and his fleet cam, geez. But we're currently running an alpha test for the fleet cam. Fleet cam has been live 24/7 since October 19th, coming up on 5 days now. As Booster 1051 has been back in port, there is a live stream here on the NASA Spaceflight channel where you can see what's happening with booster processing. We've got views of Pad 40. We actually used it this morning to show the Starlink launch from a different angle, but that is an alpha test. Still sort of maybe it's going into beta. I don't know. I'm just sort of hedging my bets here in terms of stability and auto recovery and stuff. But that has been live 24/7 if you ever want to check in. Usually some people after hours over there chatting it up. I'll get a link to that into chat really quickly. But once we shut down NSF Live here for today, you can continue the conversation over in the Fleet Cam stream. I just have to hit the right button here to bring Fleet Cam up. I've actually got it on a monitor in the studio 24/7 playing seagull noises in the studio. So let me get that link really quickly. But it is an alpha
Fleet Cam
test.
rules.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
Way to go.
There we go. So there we go. Thanks, NASASpaceflight, and Michael putting a couple links in there as well. If you click on that, that takes you over to the official Fleet Camp stream. Again, still sort of in an alpha test, just because there's a bit of software and server things that need to go on to make it a little bit more robust, a little bit more reliable, I guess you could say, because we do get freezes on occasion and hiccups, recovery from an internet connection hiccup. Still working on that. But if you want to have another 24/7 NASA spaceflight stream to hang out in, you can always head over there. People talk about all sorts of stuff. They'll talk about what's going on with Starship. They'll talk about space news, whatever it is. It's almost like a 24-hour thing, free for everybody to just join over there anytime and watch what's happening at the port. So
Yeah, every now and then I like to pop in chat on there and just go woo and then bail or
Yep.
or chat or whatever. But it's fun. It's a fun thing to have, and thank you for handling that. Can I run through a couple more Starship questions before we wrap
Sure.
up completely? I'm
Sure.
sure I'll go fast.
I'm good, yeah.
Aaron Luna asking, what are the odds of SN8 failing? I say 50-50. What do you guys say?
I was about to say 50-50. I give it a 50-50.
50-50 is like what you toss in there when you don't really know, but you just need to
That is
answer.
yes, exactly. That's exactly where I'm at.
I mean,
right
yes, but also I just feel like for test flights in general, I mean, 50-50 is a safe bet because it's a test flight. You don't know. There are unknown unknowns, and you don't quite know what's going to happen, no matter how sure they are that everything's going to go right. 50-50 is a sort of an acknowledgement that it's a test flight, in my mind.
So I say, like, I usually say 50-50, but I think there's sort of a threshold where SpaceX wouldn't launch it unless they were
Right.
some amount sure it was going to go. Like, they wouldn't
Yes.
launch a 90 or a 1090 where it's only a 10% chance of
No,
going.
no.
And I always sort of envision that SpaceX's go, no go for are we ready to actually try this is probably a little bit higher than 50-50,
Yes.
but I like to just say
But
50-50.
The
you know?
SpaceX go no go only considers what they know about it, and there's always the part that they can't consider because they literally haven't tried and experienced some weird issue that they never thought of before. So that's why and the problem is, and I've said this before, all of the previous like hub tests, which granted are not quite as ambitious as a 15-kilometer flight, all went almost perfectly. So I feel like I'm being pessimistic when I say I'm really not confident in the SN8 flight. Maybe that's pessimism, or maybe that's accurate. We'll find out when it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I think I keep thinking back to Falcon Heavy's first flight. Elon said 50-50 before it flew when asked, what are the odds that he gave it. And I don't think he thought it was actually 50-50,
Right.
right? Like to Das's point, SpaceX probably had some sort of, they're probably thinking it was more like 70-30 or 80-20 or whatever the appropriate, ratio is. But Elon sandbagged, which is, a smart thing to do, under promise, over deliver.
There you
So
go.
50-50 is from our perspective, what we think, but surely SpaceX is more confident than that. Otherwise, they just wouldn't do it, right?
Right. They would spend a little bit more time on the avionics system, or they would work on the actuators. Like if they knew that there was something that was dragging down their likelihood of success, they would probably spend a little bit more time on it if it was something they
Yeah.
knew might be a problem. Now, like Thomas said, you could run into things where well, we don't actually know that that's going to be a problem, and those are things you learn by doing a test flight. So,
Yep.
yeah. Let's grab a couple.
And then
Let's
this is
grab
a
a
good
couple more.
question. This is a good question for either of you. Marcin asking, is Starship symmetrical in terms of entering the atmosphere?
Symmetrical.
Yes. Yeah. Along. So if there's a line of symmetry from nose to the tail, as long as the fins and everything are level with respect to the ground, it's symmetric on that axis. So yeah.
And I imagine
Cool.
they've
Mr. Gonznator, go.
Oh no, I was going to say I imagine they've sized the forward flaps and the rear flaps to take into account the center of mass of the Starship, right? Like the
Yeah.
expected center of
Yep.
mass. So you have X amount of drag at the top when you're belly flopping. You have X amount of drag at the bottom from these aerodynamic surfaces. Also, the drag of the main body itself is something that you'd get. And SpaceX has certainly done the math on that and say, all right,
Absolutely.
our center of gravity is going to be here, and so we need this size flaps here, this size flaps here, so we get symmetric drag, even though on the long axis it's not symmetrical because it's a rocket ship, right? Pointy end,
Yes.
flamey end, that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. Yeah.
Mr. Gonznator asking, will they need to do a relight test? So when Starship launches on its 15-kilometer flight, it is going to shut off its engines and then relight them midair. We do expect another static fire when the nose cone gets installed and once all three Raptors are stowed away. But we don't know if that static fire will be like a double static fire, rapid back to back or what. We just think they're going to static fire again. What that will look like, we're not sure. But a relight test does seem prudent, but we don't know if they're going to do that or not. Do you guys have anything to add to that one?
We touched on this in a previous show, I think, and I think it's a great idea. We haven't heard anything about plans to do that, so I'm not sure that we'll say that they are going to do that. And then also there was one caveat to, yeah, it's a good idea, but when you do a static fire on the pad, that torches a lot of ground equipment for those couple seconds. And if you did
Yes.
2 successive tests like that, that might do some damage to the surrounding area. You're not really supposed to sit on the pad and burn for an extended amount of time, even if you split it among 2 different burns. So that might not actually be a thing they can do. The relight might just have to happen for the first time during the flight.
Yeah, especially this
Really
pad
good
with
answer,
no
Thomas.
flame diverters and
Yes.
no flame trenches and stuff like that. Like you don't do a full duration static fire on this, like you could out at Stennis, where NASA can fire those SLS engines for a full duration burn.
Exactly.
Because they have all this infrastructure to handle
it's a giant
the
test
exhaust.
stand. Yep.
Yeah, as opposed to a flat piece of ground with some girders on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Let's see. Lucas asking how many Raptors are installed right now. I believe there are 3 Raptors installed again. I think 1 got reinstalled last night. Good question. David asking, what will the final Super Heavy launch pad look like? We really don't know. I think you can kind of extrapolate based on what it looks like so far, but we haven't seen any updated renders or anything like that. But good question, David. Nick Robinson asking, how will they fabricate a crew-worthy Starship? It's still very much a prototype, and I wonder if a crewed version will be built in a factory, much more like locked down like Crew Dragon. Yeah, that's kind of one of the benefits that SpaceX has of the Starship development campaign, is that they're doing it without NASA looking over their shoulder in the same way that they had to do all the paperwork and all the bureaucracy and all that rigorous stuff with Dragon. So that's kind of one of the benefits Starship has right now. And surely that will change when they start getting into full-blown lunar landers, if they get that far with the human landing system contracts. But until then, until NASA is fully involved in that way, they get to kind of just build whatever they want down in Texas. But surely that'll change at some point. Good question, Nick. Just trying to get to a couple more of these.
Absolutely, Jack.
You guys asked some really good questions, and I don't want to just run or close out the stream without answering some of these. I don't usually like to answer or talk for Mary, but Dominic asking, has Mary ever seen a Florida rocket launch? And Mary might have even answered him in chat. I'm not sure if she's still around, but no, I don't think she has. And that was something that we were trying to facilitate having happen before the pandemic hit. So hopefully we'll get her out to Florida for a launch very, very soon when things start to chill out, because it's super cool to see a launch from Kennedy Space Center and all the accoutrement. It's historic. It's a really cool place to go and see launches. So we'll definitely have to get Mary out there at some point. Good 100%. Question.
I think the problem,
Tom
Jack,
Brooks,
is going to be Mary's going to head out to Cape Canaveral at some point and be like, "What's with all these tiny rockets?"
Yeah, right.
So
they're spoiled by the world's largest rocket, and go, "Wait, what's this?" Yeah.
What is this? A rocket for
what
ants?
What is this? A rocket for ants? Oh, we did it at the same time!
Yeah. High five, Jack. Nice.
Tom Brooks asking, what is the purpose of the second launch stand in Boca Chica? We think it's just a second launch stand. At first, we thought it might just be for pressure testing, but it certainly now seems like they're upgrading it for full testing. So if they want to do multiple tests, rapid fire, and we were just talking about how flight off of pad A might roast pad A because there's no flame diverter and all that, it helps to have a second pad ready to go if you're trying to fly multiple flights rapidly. Good question. Let's see. Do you think SN8 will perform the belly maneuver on first flight, or will they rather try a normal Falcon 9 landing? No, it's definitely going to do the belly flap. I don't think Starship's design is conducive to a Falcon 9 style vertical landing, given that it has that skirt area with the Raptors tucked up in it. That just seems like the aerodynamic loads on that skirt area would be not bueno. So definitely belly flap is what we're expecting on the first flight. And let's see, the Foul Yeti asking, do you think nosecones of future Starships will be mated in the build area, or will they be always mated at the launch site to make them easier to transport? To me, based on the payload user guide, which is a 1.0, and it could very rapidly change, especially next week as SpaceX publishes its Starship update, if they end up doing it next week or what have you. But whenever they do it again, I'm sure we'll get an updated payload user guide, and this could change. But currently, the payload user guide stipulates that those nosecones and the payload sections, whatever they are mated at the launch site. But obviously, that could change as the whole system and the workflow and test flow evolves. Good question, though. I mean, I can do a couple more. I don't know what do you guys see any that tickle your fancy? Oh, we lost Thomas.
We lost Thomas. Did we just completely lose Thomas? We may have just completely lost Thomas. Yeah, we got an empty box there. We'll can't. Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you. Ghost Thomas. Ooh.
Did that too?
Yeah, wait, you're back now. We got you back.
You're back.
Oh, nope,
Yeah.
there it goes again.
Would you Windows update?
Itamar asking, any idea what the purpose of the foldable tarp covering the bed of the truck with Raptor and COPVs? I think that's just like a transport thing. You don't want to transport Raptors and COPVs down the highway at 70, 80 miles an hour uncovered. So I think that's all that was. Let's see if they change static. Okay, we did that one. Jesme asking, do you think they'll throttle the engines down initially until they get away from the pad and then let them rip? That's plausible. I mean, I don't think they necessarily need to be at full throttle to get off the pad, but very good question there in terms of what they will do for SN8's flight. You're back.
We.
And then I think a good.
Feed DOS.
All right. I'll
I think
refresh it
we're
as
good
well.
now. I think we're good.
Yeah, we should be good. There you go.
Right. Shout out to
cool.
college
good final
apartment
question.
internet. But anyway.
You're making do. You're making do.
Yeah.
And I think a good final
this-
question here would be, what do you guys think about the daylight closures in Boca soon?
The 28th through the 30th?
Yep.
See if they're updated here. Yeah, there they are. We have them on the
Boom.
schedule. So what do we think they're going to do in those daytime closure windows?
Static fire
Well, there's
question mark?
no. Yeah, seems like a static fire testing, maybe some pressure testing once the nosecone is installed, but definitely seems like seems like a static fire window. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, as of right now, there is no temporary flight restriction for the 15-kilometer
There is
hop.
not. At least
So
there wasn't
these-
as of like yesterday.
And I think they can set that up in like 2 days or so. So theoretically, they could static fire on the 28th, and if it's successful and the data looks good, they could set up a TFR for the 30th. I think. Could be wrong, but currently the lack of a temporary flight restriction leads me to believe that those 3 dates are static fire test dates and backup days.
Yeah, and I
so
just
that's
checked.
what I
There
think
are
those
still,
are.
as of right now, there are no TFRs other than
Gotcha.
the standard Boca Chica one. So yeah.
Yeah, so once that TFR goes up for the 15-kilometer flight, that is going to be a huge indicator and a sign that things are getting really, really, really real. Cool. I think that's a good number of questions here in the queue. I'm sure we missed a whole lot, and if
We always
if I
do,
didn't answer
yeah.
your question or we didn't get to your question, you guys asked so many good ones. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a good question. It just means we didn't have time for it. And you know me, I get off on a tangent. We get off on tangents. So feel free to ask us on Twitter or go into Fleet Cam
Absolutely.
and chat about it in the Fleet Cam channel. Or if you're
Fleet
one
Cam.
of our new Capcom and above members, jump over to the Discord and feel free to ask in our members Discord. So
Absolutely.
there's various ways to get your questions answered if we didn't get to them today on stream. And I apologize, we can't get to everybody, but we try, we really do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, y'all, that's going to bring us up to the end of today's bonus NASA Spaceflight Live. Because the guy clicking on all the buttons didn't have the right time on his calendar, we went an extra 30 minutes today. That's me, blame myself. But normally we do about an hour and a half. We've done 2 hours of just live hangout today. Again, we don't have a big schedule we go through. We literally just talk about cool things. It's a fun show. I hope that y'all enjoy it. I hope you get something out of it. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, on the show today, let's go back through our hosts over on this side. Jack Beyer. Jack, thank you so much for the time today. We appreciate you as always.
Yep, no problem. I'm always love doing these streams. It's a blast. And keep your eyes open, everybody. Mary has already uploaded footage for a daily Boca Chica video, and that's what I'm going to go rush off now and finish up editing. We'll get that posted up on the channel, and then tomorrow in the pipeline, as usual, usual anyways, we have a weekly update video coming. And like Thomas said, we also have that giant 8,000 word article about Starship development coming down the pipeline. So stay tuned. This is by no means, though this episode of NASA Spaceflight is ending, it's by no means the end of Starship content for the day coming from NASA Spaceflight. So definitely keep your eyes open. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening to me babble.
Good deal. Jack, as always, thanks for everything you do. Hey, most of the daily videos that you see, all the awesome editing with the labels and stuff like that, and the little funny remarks sometimes if you're reading the labels, that's a lot of Jack's work over here. He's sort of the godfather of NSF video editing. Can I say that? Is that okay? Like,
Sure. I'll take it.
but massive thanks to Jack for everything he does. And then over on my other side here, hey, I got it right the first time. Thomas Berghardt. Thomas, again, doing all sorts of different stuff with NASASpaceflight. Thomas, thanks for the time this Saturday.
Absolutely, I'm happy to be two NSF streams on the day already, and yeah, looking forward. I mean, having read all 8,000 words of this giant article that's coming up in a little bit, I can highly recommend it. We've done the site's done a couple of these super deep dives into the very beginnings of what has now become Starship, and it's been updated, and we've got a extensive history on the development program, and it's an awesome read. So hope you guys enjoy it, and stay tuned for more YouTube content as well, daily videos, live streams, etc. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the super chats. We really appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Thomas, always for everything you do. Lastly, over here, I'm John Galloway with NASASpaceflight, back here in the fake studio. Clearly, I'm not sitting at Johnson Space Center. It's a green screen, but what are you going to do? Appreciate everybody joining us today. Apologize if you had a schedule. We went a little bit over. If you're watching the VOD, you're like, what is this? It's 2 hours. How am I going to find time to watch that with all the other videos that come out? We appreciate everybody's support, everything y'all do. We have an awful lot of fun doing this, and we look forward to the next show. As always, follow the channel here. You know how to like and subscribe. Turn on the notifications, which don't seem to be that consistent. Thanks, YouTube. If you want to get notifications, follow on Twitter as well. At NASASpaceflight is the Twitter handle. And if there's a live stream that ever comes up, it usually gets tweeted there as well. So if you follow at NASASpaceflight and you turn on notifications on Twitter, that's another way that you can get notified that something's coming up. A lot of people complaining that YouTube doesn't always send the notifications. So even if you're here on YouTube, maybe Twitter's another sort of secondary, very spaceflight related backup system to get those notifications. And last but not least, I'm going to toss this in really quickly. Last but not least, that is the Fleet Cam, which is awesome. I'm going over to the Fleet Cam next to hang out with the Fleet Cam chat. But the store, if you want to rep some NASA Spaceflight merch, head on over to nasaspaceflight.com/shop, and you can get such thrilling merchandise as this Eat Sleep with a question mark, Scrub Repeat t-shirt. It's funny.
We're gonna need a Fleet Cam, some kind of Fleet Cam merch or shirt or something at some point here.
Yeah, like a Fleet
Florida
Cam
Fleet
logo.
Watchers.
I like it.
Florida,
like that.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, we need something to represent Fleet Cam, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge fan of Fleet Cam and all the hard work you put in there, Das. So thanks again for that.
Oh, I have too much fun with that. At some point, I'm gonna have to turn the keys over to somebody else so that I can get on with my regular work. But it really is a lot of fun. I mean, the robotic teleoperated camera. Michael did such a good job tracking that launch earlier today with the robotic teleoperated camera. I think we should deploy more. Anyways, on that note, I have a hammer. On that note, we are going to go ahead and spool down today's NASA Spaceflight Live. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Thank you also to the members who support us. I think we have a scene for that as well. Good grief. Look at all the members.
Wow. There's a lot of those.
I don't even know what to do with this anymore.
I could put it on a scroll. Like I could do like a movie credits style like scroll or something. I don't know.
Like Star Wars?
There's so many. Yeah, something like that. So many members are supporting us now that this went from like one name to two names to more names than I can even count now as I'm looking at it. So it's truly humbling. Thank you so much, everybody. And especially thank you to all of our launch directors and all of our flight engineers. It's a huge commitment every month, and it really it changes the game. It allows us to do things differently and plan things differently because of that recurring revenue from all of our members. So thank you, everybody, so much.
Absolutely. So y'all, again, I think I've done everything I'm supposed to do. Anybody, did I miss anything? Are we good?
I think we're good now.
Space shuttle.
Good. All right.
Oh yeah, shuttle.
I just want to
shuttle
say,
hugger. Wait,
yeah, I was
wait,
gonna
wait,
say shuttle, because we can't go a full stream without saying the word space shuttle. So space shuttle.
We talked about shuttle SRBs earlier. We're good.
It's right here.
Oh, okay.
It's on the screen right now. Every time we use this.
I'm just trying to make the boss happy.
All right, y'all. We will be signing off now. Again, thank y'all for everything. We'll be hopping over to some fleet cam chat maybe. Again, if you're looking for that URL, we'll post it in the chat. But NASA Spaceflight team here, John Galloway, Thomas Burghardt, Jack Beyer, signing off for this evening, and we will see you nerds later. Thanks, as always, for everything.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
The chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantic. Flight outside of speed off. Off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.